Alfie Butcher win for the first time ever. Lucas Blakely.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to PSGL. George Morgan here and Jack Kinnett. All the lights are currently lit here on track, and it is go, go, go! Donoso with a crafty manoeuvre up the inside. Masterclass with the Chilean.
Crucial championship points on offer here.
Do not count down Danny Berezne.
Longe has done the job. This is for the win between these two.
Freddie Rasmussen wins the United States Grand Prix.
Alfie Butcher win for the first time ever. Lucas Blakely takes the championship. It's Barry Foreman.
Jarno Opmeer is your champion.
One. No sound from me either. So if we just bear for 1 second, might be one of those. Right. Let's give it a second. Let's give it a second. Let's give it a second. Right. Yeah, now? Okay, you can hear me. We good. We good? Come on. Fabian, I need you, mate. I need you. I need you. We're good. I think we're good. We got a couple interesting people racing today, Yalte. We don't have, of course, the star studs for PCF1 to call them, but we do have a lot of very talented drivers. You know, looking through here, we've got the likes of Lenny Papinta, Lillian Derbycup of Race Clutch, two very great names. Dylan Warren, John Evans, both racing for Ferrari as well, who have stayed within this championship despite F1 Sim Racing starting next week, which is absolutely fantastic. Nathan is aware he cannot be heard at the moment. You can see him concentrating really, really hard. If we all pray, there's a chance his microphone might be able to come back. But if you don't want his microphone to come back, just let us know in the chat and we'll solve that one for the rest of the broadcast. But it should be a fantastic race here around Spa, of course. It's not necessarily the longest circuit out there. I believe it's 22 laps we've got around here today. So it should be a very interesting one for us to somewhat divulge into. He's already working the sticks, isn't he? He's already got team standings. He's wanted me to do all the talking. So we've got TES leading away on 295 points, and boy, oh boy, have they been a force to be reckoned with so far this season. It's been absolutely fantastic watching them bounce back from the struggles they had last season to be able to come back, grab the ball by the horns, and really direct it in the forward direction, which, you know, I don't want to say it's never been seen in these series before. You know, you can argue maybe Ferrari last year when they had that sudden resurgence, but TES have just been absolutely far and away by far the best team. And part of it is down to their lineup. We can't, you know, shadow around it. Nelson Alves, Jan Hade, both development drivers for the respective Formula One sim racing teams, but both of them coming together in the form of a community team and being able to put some great results on the board. But they're not alone, of course. We've got the Loche Academy, who will be represented with Luca Rapasa and Leo Lund today. Only 40 points between them. That's a lot in traditional F1, but if you're not aware, E-Series does have a custom points, so everyone who finishes will get points. I believe it's 35 for a win, so that margin all of a sudden doesn't look too difficult to close down. Especially considering the next margin is only 1 point. And of course, it's a race clutch. We've already mentioned Lenny Papinta, Lillian Derbycup. We know what they're about. Absolutely French demons. They are so quick, so talented, so consistent in the game. Unfortunately, strategy has let them down a little bit, but we know they're able to bounce back. We see it week in, week out. They're always back on top of it and reforming themselves in a way where they're growing week in, week out. R8G have got Julian Klapperbock and Sergio Sobrino rocking at the sticks today for the Orange team. Again, one of those teams where you could maybe argue, maybe expecting a little bit more, given the amount of development drivers they have. But when you've got that many development drivers, all of them are fighting for position. You can expect the very best ones to be able to make it to the top and be able to compete here in E-Series against stacked teams such as Scuderia Ferrari, who of course do have Barry Burmand and Nicolas Longuet in their roster, but of course, because they're probably hard at work training for next week, for the return of Formula One sim racing, which should be very fun to watch and sort of get yourselves involved with as well. They're going to be running John Evans and Dylan Warren, who by no means are slow. You might think maybe they're not necessarily at that level just yet, and maybe could do with a little bit more to try and push themselves up towards that Barry Burman, Nicolas Longuet, the Yana Watmere sort of caliber of driver, but they're not far away at all. If it does sound like I'm yapping a bit, you should know by now I'm a yapper. Well, you're absolutely welcome. I've managed to mute Nathan for the entire stream. We've got rid of him, mate. You're welcome. Next up, TES, 133 points. Sorry, TES? No, TF10. I'm losing my marbles already. Elia Tomasetto and Tomasz Lamanen, again, another solid team. Expecting a good points haul here today to try and pull away a little bit from this sort of back-end pack I'll kind of want to jest towards a little bit. You got Tatum there, FBR, CPI, all within that ballpark where any good result for any of those teams will really see them catapult up towards that top 5 and try and close in on those teams which are really fighting for that prize money and really trying to get a little bit of an advantage and get legs on the rest of them, which they're all tussling around with because it's part of the beauty of E-Series, right? Everyone's in equal cars. Everyone has an equal opportunity to be able to perform at the best of their ability. We have seen shock results already, and it wouldn't surprise me if we're going to see a couple more throughout the rest of the season. And then, of course, down towards the bottom, we've got ABS. But they do have a very special driver with them here today. Nathan, if you are able to hear me, are we able to look at the driver lineups? Because someone certainly needs to, have a little bit of love shown his way. And that someone, of course, is Will Lewis, with the post Williams put out yesterday, announcing that he's not part of their team lineup, which everyone somewhat expected him to be, given his form and his ability that he's shown recently. It could be one of those. As we've got the old lineup, there we go, beautiful, lovely. We're swinging, we're getting going. It's beautiful. But Will Lewis, Florian Fanzalter as well. Another great driver. But Will Lewis, he's going to be out for blood today. He's going to be out for vengeance. He's going to be looking. He's going to be trying his best to do hunting. Absolutely anything. Me and Ava were talking earlier and mentioned if he's able to pull off a win today, what a statement that would make to Williams. Taking a couple drivers where maybe they're not at the hottest form, maybe they're not necessarily performing the best. If he was able to get a win here and prove, hey, maybe you guys should have tucked me instead of going for the trio of Spaniards, maybe that could be a very firm point that he'll be able to put down and maybe look towards in the future to try and maybe even jump ships, to be quite honest with you, because in my opinion, it's evident that he's not necessarily being respected too well there. So while Nathan will be fixing everything he possibly can behind the scenes, because he did learn his Dutch introduction. We're not gonna jest him out of it. He has learned it. He's learned it off by heart. He knows it. He recited it to me already. So we're just waiting for that very moment to come. But while he's doing all of this, we will have a wet start qualifying, as you can see in the background. He's currently on the pause menu, presumably trying to sort out his game and sort out his microphone while he's there. But we do have a little bit of a dull start to qualifying, right? Let's not beat around the bush here. It's one of those. Yeah, we're aware. We are fully aware. We're enjoying the lack of hard Brummy accent here at the moment. You got a soft one with me, but it's not a full-fledged Brum at the moment. But I'm sure he'll be back in a matter of time. But as I was saying, we do have qualifying around Spa. it's one of those. It takes a little bit of time to build up. These drivers, everyone knows this version of Spa like the back of a hand. It's not exactly a perfect replica compared to the real life one, given the way the game's made, and there's a sort of facets towards that. But it's still an almighty track to race on. It's a fantastic one to be able to get opportunities to try and overtake, to try and battle when it gets to those races. And it's a very fluid one to be able to do your qualifying, do your time trials. But given the nature of how long this circuit is, any mistake is costly, especially in qualifying with margins which are going to be so tight between all the drivers, because that's the level of competition here in E-Series. Everyone is ridiculously close. You're going to see drivers probably splitting 3-4 tenths between P1 to P20 from the start of Q1 all the way to the end of Q3. That's part of the nature of what these drivers all bring to the table. They all practice religiously. They all, swear down to this game. Don't get us wrong, game's not perfect, right? We've all been there. We've all had a moment. We've lost it on a curb we shouldn't have. Game sometimes doesn't necessarily react the way you want to, but these guys, they put in so many hours. They understand when the car's going to be unpredictable. They understand the curbs, which are going to be a little bit of a threat towards them, and maybe not give them the best traction, the best sort of runs. As Thomas Lamman there goes for an outside lap, and he's going to be rolling it back in the pits now. Meanwhile, we do have more cars out on track, and I believe a couple of them are having a little bit of fun there in Sector 3. A little bit of weaving. Of course, you'll be able to see the cars ghosting in qualifying standard here in E-Series to make sure no one gets an advantage with the slipstream. And to try and create a little bit more of an equal, harmonious way to also stop people from all going out in the last 2 minutes to try and set a qualifying lap, because believe it or not, 20-car pileups aren't necessarily the best to watch, nor are the best to commentate on, to be quite honest with you. But we move swiftly along because Elliot Tomasetto is just about starting his lap. Nathan, bless him, is doing everything in his power. I'm seeing his messages in Discord. He's trying to run through everything as best as he can. Try and get anything sorted to try and get him back here, because I know he was looking forward to this one so very much. Let me just see. Right, let's see if we can do that, because his microphone's not even coming through on Discord that we're using to communicate on. So it's a little bit difficult, but the drivers will be getting underway with first laps here in qualifying. And part of the beauty when it comes towards these intermediate conditions, and maybe even more so the very wet conditions, because these drivers, they know what's quicker. They know the wet tyre is not an optimal tyre in any circumstance. The intermediates are quite often quicker than the wets in the full wet conditions. Because of the nature that these guys drive the cars, they slide them, they absolutely rag the cars around like it's no one's business. And they do it so second nature, completely autopilot, and it's fantastic to see them have so much confidence to be able to do that with the cars. And really try and find the limits very, very quickly and very early on. So, let's have a look here with Matteo Longe, who has invalidated his lap time. But we're going to touch a little bit on Matteo as well, because he's only recently got back into the F1 game. He took a little bit of a break. And like Mika Hakkinen, he eventually did come back from his sabbatical. Of course, brother of Nicholas Longe, the the Scuderia Ferrari esports driver. Certainly a very promising family with a lot of talent there. When it comes towards sim racing, and Matteo is no apple from the tree, I'll tell you that much. He is very, very close and very hot on the heels. He's right up there on the pace, and being able to contest last week, it was very impressive to see. Excited to see what he's going to be able to bring to the table here today, but we do have a Richard's finally joining us in this Q1 session. Nathan, thank you for solving that issue, mate. Absolute titanic effort from you to get that fixed. Welcome back, my friend.
Yes, hello everybody. Hopefully it's working fine. I had to go into the settings and it turns out for some reason Windows decided to shut down the audio enhancements on my mic, whatever that meant, and it means I had to restart the PC again. But
Mate,
hopefully
it's absolutely done you. I'm still holding you to that Dutch introduction. We can do it after Q1 because we still have 7 minutes left. Yeah, exactly. We're going to get there. Beautiful. I did have a retort back, but I completely forgot it at this moment in time. But unfortunately, for a couple of the drivers, it does look like the track seems to be dried up a little bit. It seems to be a little bit less water, and we do have Leo London, Lucas Rapasa setting the fastest lap times by 0.5 of a second, which indicates to me crossover point, if it hasn't already happened, is basically there. So you will have to bear with us. You will have to stare at our faces for just a little bit longer until we can get the gameplay on the screen. But to me now, the track looks next to completely dry. I'm sure the drivers might be feeling something completely different. Sergio Sabrino just puts in a lap time to get him to 1:50.377, which puts him up into P2. So we currently have a BA, RAG, BA, RAG in the top 4 with Jan Halze rocking a P5 and Elliot Tomasetto in the top 6. Matteo Longe P7, Dylan Moran P8, John Evans P9, and Florian van Zelter in P10.
Yes.
The rest of the drivers haven't really set a lap time in these conditions at the minute because it's that sort of condition you would expect a slick to medium tyre to be really, really good at. One of those where it would just last forever and give you unlimited grip forever. Exactly, perfectly in the middle. I say that. Thomas Laven's going to have a fresh set of intermediate tyres, which is a little strange, but based up choosers, there's a reason we're not racing, Nathan. It's because we're awfully slow and we don't engine it because we're awfully bad at the game.
Very bad.
So we'll find out. We'll find out over time. John Evans has just set himself back up into P1 with a 49.658, showing that constant track evolution. With Danny Van Brouter as well, hopping up over 150 flat, so the track behind tumbling away by the second, Nathan. I mean, if it stays dry for the rest of qualifying, this could make for a very exciting Q3. As if the E-Series grid needed any sort of mixing up. Like, it's already basically a complete pick and mix of whoever you want to see in Q3 will more than likely get into Q3. As we can see the gameplay on the screen, Charles Leclerc, Lando Norris, and Lewis Hamilton there. Unfortunately, none of them are joining us tonight, but if they were, I'm fairly confident they'd be in the bottom 3 because these drivers, well, let's just say, they're absolutely clear. Danny Van Router, absolutely Finley. Absolutely. I learned how to say his name.
Well, I mean,
I learn. I got told it's not Reuter, so...
Talking about Danny...
Go on, man.
There is some rumours, isn't there, of him possibly departing the CPR team and moving elsewhere, which would be rather interesting, wouldn't it? I mean, going on to next game, it would put CPR in a very, very difficult position, I think. And also, I can request a lobby invite, please, because I can't join because Matteo put it to invite only.
Absolutely. I can try and give you an invite. Is your username
only going through one audio? Is it? What about now?
Ooh.
Is it working? Well, you should be able to hear me. Is it coming through, Josh? I can't hear you. Is it coming through?
Hold on. Yeah, it is, but you are only coming out of my left ear. Oh. That's a sentence I wasn't expecting to say.
That's why, I suppose if Connor's on earphones, then... I mean, if he's not on earphones, then he won't.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not sure what the issue... Yes, I can see that. On the bottom, from OBS, I'm only coming through the one side.
Oh, we do love technical difficulties, don't we?
Yes, because
absolutely fantastic.
I don't know what to do here. I'll try and get into the lobby first, and then we'll dissect that issue later on. But I need an invite, Josh.
I'm trying to find you, but apparently you're not online on EA. This is getting better and better by the minute, guys.
I'm not on EA, Josh. This Steam.
Yeah, I know. I can't invite you on Steam, mate.
You can't. Why?
It won't let me.
Let's try the old invite. Is the old invite going to work?
Go on. Go on.
It is.
Oh, here we go. Beautiful. He's joined the session. With 2 minutes 50 left to spare. Everyone's back in the pits. So, might have to bear with... a one-eared Nathan for a little bit, but then after Q1, we should be able to get that one sorted for you relatively quickly. And hopefully be able to get everything back up so you can enjoy Nathan in both of your ears and not just myself.
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. You will be stuck with me with one ear for now.
If it makes you guys feel better, throw me your right ear. Just swap the earbuds around. You're welcome.
Do that. There, you can hear me in the right ear then. But we do have cars heading out onto track. I'm sorry, guys, if it is annoying, but there's nothing we can do. I mean, yeah,
we will fix it. We will fix it. It's just a matter of time.
It's not necessarily bad. It's annoying, is the word. The quality should still be there. It's just through one ear.
Yeah.
Which is definitely not ideal. But it's a shame because I was actually excited for this one because it's my first E-Series commentary of the year, first F1 commentary of the year. And technically issues are throwing up into the air.
Nathan, I'm going to be completely honest with you. The amount of slack you get in chat sometimes, people normally ask for you in one ear or no ears. So technically, you've already given them a bit of a late Christmas present.
I mean, no one can hear me. And then when they can hear me, they're moaning. What do they want?
Honestly, come on, guys, play a bit of ball. As I say ball, Julian Clappenbox decided to go and play him a gravel trap there for a little bit. Very interesting, but we do have other drivers coming out now. I feel like we should probably mention as well, you can still get a penalty for impeding, even with ghosted cars. It sounds silly, but if you've been in a scenario in the game and there's a ghosted car in front of you, it will put you off of whatever you're doing. No matter racing line, braking point, turning point, doesn't matter what you're doing, it will absolutely throw a spanner in the works, as drivers seem to have absolutely lost any sort of marbles they have at the moment. They're just driving over grass, to be honest with you. We're having a bit of fun. Yes.
Request, can you put onto the stream that we know I can only be heard with one ear? Because I do not want to read any more messages of me being heard through one ear.
I feel like you want to read more messages being only heard through the left earphone.
Right, so the first car to go out on the lap is Matteo Longe. So hang on, we're on intermediate tyres, are we? Why?
Well, that's the thing. We've got a cheeky little bit of a split here. So this is what I want about, mate. It's a difficult one to kind of grab your head around, I suppose, because surely Matteo's not going to be able to get through with that. But considering that he's retired from a session, so qualifying ban, it's going to be interesting, and I'm here for it. I want to see what Matteo's going to be able to do. I want to see where he's going to be able to put his car.
We'll go on board with him as he heads his way down to turn one. I mean, obviously he will be on an improvement either way because at the moment he's about 11 seconds off what we expect to see in Q1 or around that. So we will improve, but the question is it going to be as much as the soft runners? I don't think so, because to me, the track looks dry, and to the other 18 people as well, it also must be dry. And Daniele Parodi didn't make the line in time, Josh, so he will be out of Q1 here for TRT. And I mean, to be fair, that's a bit of a rookie mistake, isn't it, really, to not make it to the line in time?
It is a little bit, but when everyone's sort of jostling for that position with ghosted cars on, you do have to keep in mind that you do have to kind of play a little bit by the book, because we've got cars currently going inside each other in the qualifying lap. Looking back at Sergio Sabrino now, he seems to be in the middle of one of the FBR cars. I believe that might be Topias Koivunen, who's just made a huge mistake as well, which I'm sure, let's be honest, Stewart's reports this season have been absolutely wild. We've had it for, oh my word.
I mean, I don't think there's much grip, because the soft runners are absolutely all over the place, aren't they, Josh? Oh, someone spun! That's no, it's not Laminate, it must be Elliot Tomasetto. Had a spin.
Ooh.
I mean,
it's unfortunate.
Right, isn't qualified interference? Isn't that still technically a quali ban or a penalty?
Yeah, it's absolutely still a penalty. We've got 3-4 cars inside each other. We've had hex code penalties. Are we going to see the car inside me was outside of me and I went back inside of me and I spun penalties? That's the real question. I want to see what Jerry Van Bussel and Matteo Longe are going to be able to do. Also, Lillian Derbicourt, because they seem to be finding it, if anything, a little too dry.
Look how much Matteo's pulled away from the pack.
Yeah, he's certainly built himself up a gap. Of course, he started with a little bit of a head start as well. He's used all his battery, as you would expect to. He's popped himself right up towards the top of the timing sheet. Let's see where the rest of the drivers go. There seems to be a second gap between him and... Okay, right. This is impossible to commentate on. We will just have to wait and see. But so far, it looks like that intermediate tyre call was an absolute shout so far. As we do see all the intermediate tyre runners get through on a dry track here in Q1.
It was the way to go, it seems.
Fair play. Lillian Derbicourt, Jerry Van Bussel, and Matteo Longe. Your engineers might deserve a bit of pay rise after that.
Fair play to them on that one. That is very good judgment.
Absolutely.
But Josh, the sad part, R8G have one of their drivers out, and also TF10 double elimination.
Yeah, it's not ideal, is it? Especially when you're looking to try and close that gap down to Ferrari and P5 in the championship, and you've got cars starting 16th and 18th. But at the same time, we know earlier Tomasetto wasn't able to do a proper lap, of course, having that spin, having that issue. So it's going to be very much a clawback mission of a race. As we mentioned, 22 laps. It's not necessarily a long race in terms of, the amount of laps you get. But it's a long race in the overall distance. There's lots of overtaking opportunities. It's a very mentally fatiguing race as well, given you can realistically try and challenge anyone around any part of the track.
Yeah, it's an easy track to overtake, I think, depending. Well, if you're in a DRS straight, it's difficult. But if you're just racing one-on-one, there's lots of overtaking opportunities around this circuit. You can go side by side pretty much any corner, apart from a couple of the really, really high-speed ones. So the race will be very interesting, and still not sure why my audio is coming through the one side. I've tried to make a change.
If you try and click on it, there you go.
Nothing, is it? Live audio change, because if I put something on an advert, my audio doesn't come through.
Oh,
so.
I know. Okay. I understand what's happened there.
What have I done?
So you've got one line in.
Yes, but normally it works through both anyway.
Oh,
so what has happened? What has my PC done?
What?
By the way, guys, I did have a blue screen. I did have a blue screen before we started. Hence why we started late.
This might. Don't say the brand name of the microphone because we might damage any sort of reputation for them. But my word, mate, this microphone's been a weapon in disguise.
It is.
Has Will Gibson got you this microphone?
Might have done. Well, no, we didn't. Okay. Right. Let's have a little look here. Balance. Yes, look, both lines are coming through. Oh my, what a day this has been.
It's certainly been a day. But it does look like we do have a dry start to the qualifying here, which is absolutely lovely to see. So,
well, I'm not sure what we can exactly do at this point, Josh, regarding the mic.
Well, if we hop back over to OBS for a second, if you go down to the bottom, the cogwheels. By the way, this is absolute technical talk, by the way, guys. If any of you want to learn. Yes. And then if you find whatever it's called.
This one?
Why? Yeah, and then press mono.
Like this. Hey, there we go!
Bloody A.
Finally!
Honestly.
It was one setting, guys.
The amount of effort I've just gone through so everyone can hear Nathan in their right ear.
Let's just say, if
I
we
don't want
start
to hear
live
any more
on
bloody
air,
comments.
Josh knows exactly what words I'll be using. Oh my. It's hard to hold yourself back from swearing in situations like this.
Yes, Ian, Yano is driving today.
Ian.
He's driving.
It's Ian, Josh. Get it right.
It's Ian. Come on. He's not pork loin. Come on.
Right. Cars on laps. Let's find someone. John Evans, Josh.
Right, audio sorted. Cars.
I've had enough today.
He's had enough. He's already fed up. He's in Q2. He just wants to hear a little bit of waffle. John Evans, come on, mate. It's a bit disappointing from you. Expect you to do a lap. Who's next? Dylan Warren. Surely you're going to do a lap for us, Sunshine. Oh, he will. Beautiful. Big Dylan Warren. Fan favourite. Certainly one of my favourites. Absolutely lovely lad if anyone gets the opportunity to speak to him. Let's see what he's going to be able to crack here around the Spa-Francorchamps circuit, of course. Famous. And let's not be around the bush. Scuderia Ferrari. One of the most successful teams at this track, if not the most successful team, both in the virtual world and in the real world as well. Heading up Eau Rouge, Radion, beautiful flowing corners, now painted as well to make sure you can see where the actual track is, rather than just going up a hill completely blind. Before approaching it down the Kemmel straight, next thing you know, you're already slamming it in towards the braking zone, very late on the brakes. You can see this time, no shaking, no waving the car to try and get it flicked into rotate. It's all about getting that grip down to be able to maximise the amount of traction you can get out of all these key pivotal points in these slow moving sectors, which is going to be so difficult for the drivers. It's going to be so millimetre accurate with their throttle inputs to be able to make sure the car gets the perfect amount of drive, Nathan.
I've got to say, Josh, I think there's one person that I do want to go on board with, and that is Will Lewis, heading into P1 himself, of course. A legend here in E-Series. I remember has done, I think, the most races for Williams when he was part of Williams here in E-Series, and obviously now joining ABS for the remainder of the season, just to try and jump them above 10th, which will be difficult, but we'll see what they can do. So Will Lewis has got a lot of work. He's got a lot of work to do here, hasn't he? But the good thing is, both of them are through into Q2.
Yes, and I will say, the last thing you want to do is rile up a person who's got fire in their belly. And I can't think of any other driver on this grid who has more of a point to prove right now than Will Lewis. He must be absolutely seething, breathing in all of his emotion right now, putting it out all on the track to be able to try and get the absolute most out of this qualifying session, the most out of this race, to prove to not only himself, but those who might have, overshadowed, overlooked, overthought him, at Williams, or even in the community as well, to really be able to get a stamp back in, to prove, hey, listen, I'm still here, I'm still one of the quickest guys on the game. You guys messed up. I'm a legend.
Definitely, and I'm also noticing the bit rate was low, and I understand why that is the case. That's because Restream automatically caps it at like 3K on OBS. So I'm sorry about the low bit rate, guys. That'll be sorted next time, if these issues don't occur again. But I mean, the fact we've had just an issue full stream and we've still got 100 viewers. Thank you everybody for sticking around and bearing with us while me and Josh, while Josh helps sort the issues out, because I play no part in it. It's Windows and Josh that sorted out my issues, not me. But
you say that as if I caused them as well. I definitely did do that to get some more mic time.
Is that what it is? Just so you can waffle more.
Yeah, waffle a little bit more. Big C gave me a $5. Listen, I'm sick of a Brumby accent.
You did that for a $5. I don't want to know what else you did for a $5. Then, if that's the case, Josh.
Mate, I'll do a lot for a tenner. What can I say? So we do have driver set lap times on the board. Did mention before. I'm not sure if you could hear me earlier on in the Q1 session when we were sorting out technical difficulties. But Taylor Longe spoke a little bit on him. He's another one of those drivers. For me, he's becoming a what if.
What if what?
if he didn't take his sabbatical, if he stayed at the start of this game and powered through it, could he be there? Could he be him?
I mean, he would also be mental fatigue as well by now.
Yeah, that is true.
It's another factor to consider.
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose half of these drivers have lost brain cells since entering the F124 game. I mean, I know I have. I know I don't drive the game, so...
Well, I mean, the last time I drove the game, I beat you, so understandable.
After crashing me out in an F2 car, yes.
Winning.
Oh, dear me. Right, so, lap times. We've got Matteo heading back into the pits. We've got Luca Rapassa on an outlap, and also Julian Klaffenbach on an outlap. A man that's really found his step into real-life racing, over these past couple of months, of course. Won his Prodigy Pass, and now races in the Radical cars over in the USA. And I believe it was sometime early this week that he did race at Sebring.
Yes.
For, I think it's like Sucker Punch Pickle team or something he's part of. Mate, I'd presume a pickle company.
I've just helped you and you started calling me all these names. It's disgusting. But no, realistically, we think about the sort of journey Julian's been on.
I mean, a year ago, Josh, he was banned from PSGL.
Yeah, he was a completely confirmed cheater, disgusting, dirt of the F1 game, right? But he wasn't. He was just that dude. He was just good. And now he's, going out to, Sebring, for example, an extremely difficult track where you've got to be immensely brave, especially in the radicals. They're so difficult to drive. They're so awkward. They're so reactive over all the bumps. The fact he was even there is a major accomplishment, let alone being able to go there with a team and be able to put on a performance and race against other cars competitively. That is absolutely huge.
Yeah, it certainly is. He's definitely proven a lot of people wrong. I think that is safe to say. So yeah, great to see what he can possibly do in the future. Maybe he could be one looking to close in on F1 esports in a couple of years once he reaches that age, because I believe he's still a year under the age requirement, of course, of 16. So, maybe in the future we'll see him get there. I mean, one example, Joris Krozen, R8G, development driver as well, of course, now is in a full-time seat, as we do see some cars now heading up to the line. The two TES cars, Nelson Alves and Jan Halde, going P1 and P2, 42.3 to 42.5 respectively. Of course, still quite a bit off the pace. I mean, that's the times I'd be doing, so we do know that we're off the pace. Obviously, the track is still starting to rubber in after the wet conditions.
Yeah, takes a little bit of time to get that grease which the water brings out the surface, and of course, when it comes to a circuit like Spa, I mean, traditionally in real life, it's one of those surfaces where it does absorb a lot of the moisture and a lot of the oils which come out of the tires and out of the cars. And of course, it's not the only Formula 1, Formula 2, Formula 3, the Formula series aren't the only cars which go around here. There are other cars. You think about Porsches, of course, WEC, IMSA. There's so many different cars which have a lot more tendency to have these potential.
Look at that, Josh.
Issues.
Fastest lap, but has got second.
We say, look at that. Are we even surprised?
Will
We're
Lewis.
not even surprised. We're not even surprised. He's just gone, you know what, I've took that personally. I'm winning. And he's going for it. Will Lewis, straight up to the top of time sheets, 3 tenths difference. It's what you want to see from him. I mean, Toby Scoivenden up there as well, up into P2. Fantastic show. This track keeps getting better and better. It's going to be the exact same case it was in Q1, I think. But without the intermediate tyres this time, whoever crosses that line last, Nathan.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone's safe here. At 41.7, surely still quite a bit off what we expect to see. So
go on. You said you could do that time. Go on, say it.
No, I could do 42s, but I don't know about 41s. I think that's a little bit out of my depth. I mean, I have got a new wheel, so I'm still yet to test this track on it.
Cheeky.
But with all the issues that I'm getting with my mic, is it worth trying to plug the wheel in? I don't want to blow that up as well. That would not be ideal. But we do have the two. Well, we have one of the ABS cars on track through in a lap. We have the other one going back into the pit lane. Of course, Florian van Zelter currently on a 44.9, nowhere near what we expect to see in this session. Of course, going a little bit out of sync compared to everybody else. And surely, if Florian completes this lap, he hasn't got time to go back in, back out, and around again, has he, with 4 minutes? So I reckon his plan here should just be going back into the pits, getting a new set of tyres and going straight out with the others with a couple of minutes to go, because I don't think he's got enough time to complete an in-lap, an out-lap, and a full lap again.
I completely agree. I mean, his delta's going to be telling him the complete opposite, isn't it? His delta's going to be going, 3-4 seconds quick, you're absolutely flying, mate. But you've got to understand that in this moment, it's not going to be worth it to complete the lap. He stays out, he completes the lap, which means he's going to have his work cut out to get back to the pits and try and get back round. A 141.5, that's nowhere near safe, in all honesty, with the way this track is improving. So he's got a very tall task now to try and screw himself all the way back to the pits. It is doable, but he's going to have one hell of an out.
Yep, he certainly will, as we do see many more people look to enter back into the pit lane, Leo Lund being one of them. Then we have Topias Koivunen as well, of course, better known as Top A here in the PSGL scene, of course. I think runs under Top A at F2, but runs under Topias here in E Series. I presume that's something to do with names and having the correct name applied.
I believe he also runs under Ariana Grande, doesn't he?
Yeah, Santopius Rodriguez as well, I've seen before. And I did say to Josh I was going to mess with him, because if he did enter with the wrong name, I'll just go in Steam and change his nickname. Put it back to normal. I said he should probably just change it to FVR Ariana Grande. See, I could do to mess with everyone. Just go into the random drivers, take the tag out their name and get them a quali ban, or whatever it is, or a penalty.
Now, I'm not saying Nathan's open for bribes, but let's just say
if money comes my way.
yeah, and I'll do a lot for 10 quid, but Nathan will do even more for 2 quid.
But Josh, I think one thing we've got to talk about now is, remember in Q1 we had that massive fight at the end with everybody pretty much inside of each other at some points. Now, if there is penalties for interference, which we've seen before, even though it's on Ghosted, then do they investigate everything, or do they just say no? Everyone was harmfully affected. We'll just leave it at that, because there would be penalty after penalty, wouldn't there?
I mean, I think it would be unfair if you didn't, because
I mean, let's be honest, Josh, there's going to be 15 penalties applied after that, and Kryptonite is not going to do that, is he?
Well, at the same time, though, you've got to think it would be really unfair for those who ended up backing off. I mean, say, for example, we had drivers not complete a lap, we had drivers going out really early and trying to break away from the pack. It would be unfair on them to not penalise the rest of the drivers. I mean, don't get me wrong, you'd be penalising all the drivers bar maybe 2 or 3. But rules are rules at the end of the day, and you've got to stick with them. As Florian does retire from the session, currently in P1.
It's a risk, but I suppose
that's going to change.
We know that the lap times are going to be quicker, but I suppose Florian's just hoping that at least 5 people below him make a mistake, because if 5 people below make a mistake, he's through. So that's what he's got to rely on. But surely, I would have gone with the less risky option of going into the pits at the end of the lap, not completing it, and going out again. It's not rare that we see people abandon a lap just so they can get out and be on, be in sync with the others. But the other thing now that drivers have got to focus on is we've got just over a minute to go in this session. They've got to go all the way through this chicane, through Stavelot, through Blanchimont, into the bus stop chicane. They're all together still. They're all bumped up together, and we're going to have the same situation as before, aren't we?
Yeah, no, I'm slightly concerned about. I do believe that is the.
I saw Yoda's message. Cooked salad.
Mate, cook sushi, Yoda. Cook sushi.
Right, but
that's what
first one on the lap, Josh. We have got Dylan Warren, who thought, you know what, I'm going to get away from everybody else, push forward, and start my lap.
Right.
And Ferrari, they're 84 points behind in the championship. We all know that they are the team that need to get a 1-2 today. They need to be getting a double podium because the last few weeks for them have been dismal. Not what we've normally seen from Ferrari. People say, oh yeah, but last season they had Nico and Barry. Yes, they did, but they still had these development drivers performing into the top 5 positions. This season, it hasn't been the case.
Yeah, John and Dylan are both very, very talented drivers in their own right as well. Of course, it's like saying Chris Wood's the same as Erling Haaland. It's not quite a great comparison, but both of them are absolute world-class athletes in their own right.
Yes.
Maybe not Chris Wood, to be honest, but besides the point, you get my point here. So we will have to just wait and see, because we know both these Ferrari guys are very capable of getting into the top 10. We know we're going to be able to try and cook towards. I was a little bit concerned with both the CPI cars and both TES being slightly further back, but all of them have managed to cross the line, so we'll have all the drivers out on track, completing a lap, of course, other than Florian, who decided to set his lap a little bit earlier.
I think, Josh, we're yet again in a situation of anybody here can go out in this session, because the lap times they're not that close. You've got a 41.7 in P2, you've got a 42.6 here with Dylan Warren. So, the laps are spread out because of the track obviously getting better over the session. We'll see here at the end of Sector 2 how much Dylan Warren is up by. 1.2 seconds, so we're looking at a 41.4 here for Dylan Warren. And if that's the case, then Florian Van Zelter could be safe, because there won't be obviously there's going to be people on this grid which are slower than Dylan. He's not going to be bottom of the barrel, so this could help Florian here. So it just depends how people's pace is as they head to the end of their laps, and we'll see what Dylan Warren can do.
Devil's advocate as well. That's 1.2 without the bus stop chicane, and we know how important that traction zone is to get up towards the line. 41 flat there for Dylan. Let's see if his lap times have fallen. 40.6 from John Evans. Fantastic stuff. Drivers now flooding across the line. It's almost impossible to keep up with. We've got Will Lewis hopping up into P3. Interesting to see where the two TES cars are able to get. Nelson Alves into P9. Dylan Warren down into P11. He's out of the session with Matteo Longe. Nelson Alves as well. Shock eliminations here in Q2, and it happened all so quickly, proving if you were the last car in that train, you were in a better position to get a better lap on the board. Was it perhaps a situation of maybe going a little too early for a couple of those drivers?
I mean, no, because Nelson was at the back of the pack. I think it's just the fact of the lap times are coming down that quickly. You've got to get the good lap in, and because it's that close, one mistake here, one mistake there, you're done for. It's not like a normal session where you can go 3 times. They had a one-shot chance at this, and, well, TES championship leaders leading by over 40 points on now, with only one driver heading into Q3. Ferrari, who need a big race, have only one driver entering into Q3. And also a big shame to see Jay Van Busselator as well, because he was only 30 thousandths off making his way into Q3. But the good thing here, Josh, is that FVR have both of their drivers through. They're in 8th position in the standings. TF10, one place above them, are starting 16th and 18th here. So this is perfect for FVR to try and jump a place and maybe jump ahead of TRT as well, who have no drivers in this third qualifying session.
So it's also perfect for the Loche Academy,
Yes.
43 points behind. That's looking achievable now. To be quite
More
honest
than
with you.
achievable
It
to
looks,
close in.
It looks, there was an opportunity for it at the start of qualifying. Now one of the TES guys out in Q2, this is looking like a very realistic goal here for VA to be able to take the lead here in the East Series standings.
I mean, I wouldn't say take the lead, but I'd say they can close in, because that would mean like they'd have to get a 1-2 and Yannon have to finish like P15. So they're not going to take the lead of this round, I don't think, today. But they can close in, and bring the gap down by maybe 10, 15, 20 points, which is very valuable with only 2 rounds to go after this, because it will put TES under that pressure that they're not just going to run away with it. They've got teams behind them who are there for the taking. And when you've got to line up with Luca Rapassa and Leo Lund, you've got to be scared, because first of all, they're quick. Second of all, they're not scared to have a fight. If they want to make a position, they'll go for it. If they end up in contact, who cares? They don't care. They'll still fight for it. So they're 2 scary drivers to have chasing you down, that's for sure.
They've got that, young Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen, Michael Schumacher, etc.
I mean, that's Leo Lund for sure, definitely.
If you're in the way, that's your problem. I'm going to go for a move. You either let me pass or we both out.
If the gap's there, I'll go for it. Even if the gap doesn't exist, I'm still going for it.
If the gap doesn't exist, I'll make it exist. Hold my beer. But no, it's certainly going to be very entertaining to see. And of course, Leland, I know you're a huge fan of him, singing his praises basically week in, week out. But I do just want to touch on, the changes he's had since last year, on last year's game, and even the start of this year's game. He's matured a lot.
Not really, no, not personally.
Well, not personally, but on track he's matured a lot. Because normally we would see him maybe get a little bit too frustrated, making a couple of mistakes in qualifying. But we've not really seen that this season.
Yeah, I mean,
series. We've seen mistakes in races. Don't get me wrong, but we've not seen him, completely lose it and get upset in qualifying and let that carry through into the race.
His qualifying is definitely improving, that's for sure. He's definitely finding more pace in quali than he has done before, which is a great thing to see. But it's all about what he can do in that race. We know, in my opinion, he's still one of the fastest developing drivers when it comes to race pace. His race pace is insane. He can work his way through a field quite easily due to his aggression and just his raw pace and confidence that he has in the race. So when you pair that with a good qualifying, you've got a really, really solid driver. But then again, you can say that for so many more people in this Q3 session. They're all good in the race. They're all good in quali. But it's about who's got that extra edge, who's got that extra bit of confidence. He's going to be the one that's going to probably come away with the win. And as we see, many cars, all of them, out on track now. And the fight for pole, it's close, because Q1 and Q2, in my opinion, haven't been representable at all of anyone's pace, because it's just been a one-lap dash. So it's still an unknown who's got that ultra quali pace. But of course, because we don't know, the viewers also have no clue. The engineers might have an idea of what their pace is like. So guys, let us know in the chat. Engineer, viewer, other driver, let us know who you think will be taking that pole position, because it's an unknown, isn't it, Josh? But I'm going to go with Will Lewis. We've got to go with Will Lewis, haven't we?
To be honest, I knew this question was coming, and I had Will Lewis in my mind. He's got something to prove. He's hungry. He's clearly shown he's got the pace around this circuit. It's not been a fluke. He's not ended up, having cars fluff up qualifying laps. He's been there and thereabouts within the pack in those, difficult scenarios where he can get obstructed. He can potentially lose sight of a couple braking zones and whatever you might have. But he's been able to get there. He's been consistent. He's there. For pole vote, I'm not too sure. Race, I can definitely see him winning. I mean, that's definitely potential.
We've got a mixture of reviews coming in, Josh.
Yeah, down to qualifying pace, I'm not too sure. I mean, you look at... I hate to say it, because I say it bloody every week, don't I? You look at this, you can say any of them. I'm going Julian. I'm Julian.
Julian. So we've got Julian, Will. I'm saying we got Chris saying DVR. Of course, you're going to say DVR. We got. No, I think Chris is Dan. I thought Chris was Danny's father. I guess I must be wrong. It must be his brother. We got Nevio saying DVR. We got Abdullah saying Will Lewis. We got Lana Donovan saying Wash Halliday. Of course, if you don't know, that is Jan Halliday, guys. And so hang on. We've been getting some leaks in the chat here. Abdullah saying Will did a 0.4 in the practice session.
Oh, cheeky.
So we got some leaks. I don't know if that's good. Just to put that out there, I have no clue. But Will Lewis apparently is on 0.4s. We've got Christian saying DVR, of course, Danny Van Roten as well. And then Brandon Clark saying it's his dad. Oh, so there we are. I thought it was, but I wasn't exactly sure.
Well, I hope your dad does get pole position. We've got Julian Clapperbot kicking us off here with 8.6. Oh. So if that 0.4 is anything to go by,
Well, Gunnar Martin
would
says
change my
that's mid,
prediction.
and Linus Solomon says that's bottom. Not going to lie. So.
Well, it depends what 0.4, because if you're doing a 39.4, I feel like I might have to call someone. Might want to get on the blower to Williams and say, guys, you might have made a mistake there. But with drivers now setting the lap times, a couple, not necessarily two unfamiliar names, but we do have Larry up there for FBR. I'm going to assume finish here. Correct me if I am wrong. But it's a name I'm not too familiar with seeing. It's a pleasure to see him.
Who, Larry
getting through
Sulkey?
into the top 10. Yeah.
He does spend a lot of time over in WOR. That's where I see mainly racing. But at the moment, Danny Van Roten is up. Oh, no, he's not. It's Will Lewis on provisional pole with a 140.505. 3/10 here, Josh. Separated the top 10. And Leo Lund, the man that we've been talking about earlier on, sits down in P10. Rapassa, P8. Now, that is not what Veloce Academy want. They're in a prime position to catch up to TES here. But Jan Halliday sits above both of them. And Nelson Alves is currently only 2 to 4 places behind. So, VA needs some brilliant end of Q3 laps. But Will Lewis currently tops it for ABS, and that's not something we often say, is it? We don't often say ABS in Q3, never mind on provisional pole.
83 points to the name at the minute. They've got a great chance to be able to take almost half their point tally in this one
Yes,
race.
Josh, you didn't need to say that, did you? Come on, be nice.
I don't know. I'm just putting out there how much of an impact Will can have for this team, right? Because he's now freed up. It's a dire situation for Will. Let's not beat around the bush. But he's got a brilliant opportunity here. He's got a team around him, a team who supports him, a team who fully backs him. At the first opportunity, he was right there, willing to be here, willing to come and do this. And that shows a level of trust, a level of commitment between Will and ABS. So,
will he do well? Will he?
Will do well.
We've said that about 10 times in the past minute. I noticed you saying Will a lot, so I thought I'd join in.
Will. Mental. But we do have Matteo Longe as well in the driver's chat. I'm going to give everyone a sneaky little leak here. Atting Dylan Warren saying, I thought you said John was washed.
Well, Dylan also said it was fun while it lasted. So Dylan's like, yeah, again, it's like he does care, but he doesn't. He's like, oh, we're out in Q2. Shame.
He does care.
Let's cook in the race. That's his motto, isn't it?
Exactly. Qualifying, it is what it is. He's Yana what Mir-esque.
But Josh, I've got to say, Dylan Warren sometimes messages me before a race. We'll have a chat, and he'll say, "Oh, I'm not doing that good. I'm not on pace," and he does well. But he didn't message me today. He didn't say what pace he was on, and now he's at the bottom. He's out of Q2. So maybe it's a fact he's not informing people that he's bad, because then for some reason that makes him good. I don't know what the logic is behind it, but
it's reverse psychology. You tell yourself bad. No one's got any expectations of you. You go and put an absolute barnstormer in. Greatest driver to ever live.
I mean, he's performed like that in E-Series in the past, hasn't he, Dylan Warren?
Yeah, absolutely. I remember the Monaco race where he went, I've got absolutely no pace whatsoever.
In the wet.
And then he had a qualifying ban. He started on intermediate tyres and just wiped the floor with everyone.
Didn't he have like a 14-second gap to second, and then we had a safety car or something?
It was ridiculous. Before on Twitter, he was, I'm nowhere. I've barely done any race training. I've not done any qualifying practice. I've got a quali ban. There's no point.
Well, Josh, I've got to say, can you speak louder, please? Can you come closer to your mic?
No. Right, I'll change that.
That's better.
Technical issues. We do love them, don't we?
No, we do not, Josh.
But to be honest with you, I'm very proud of how we've been able to overcome this. This is a great learning opportunity for those who are looking to try and get into the broadcasting space. On when stuff goes wrong, just keep calm. It'll work out. It always does.
Yes, it does. I mean, Malou in the chat saying, Jan, Polo, finish your career, please.
Oh,
well, Malou, what career do you have?
Right, that's unnecessary.
I do know Malou, by the way. I'm not just bullying some random person.
I know.
Put that clear.
I was just calling Malou back in the Alpine Community Cup days.
I haven't seen Malou for a long time. A long, long time. Nice to have him back with us here.
Nice, pleasure. It's great to see so many names as well. Nevio Christian as well. Apple Juice. It's fantastic. It's lovely seeing everyone here. Of course.
Orange juice.
Seeing everyone. It's fantastic, especially with the difficulties you've had putting up with us.
It is.
It's fantastic to see.
But you've got to remember, Josh, people are now getting ready because esports, it starts in 4 days.
Mate, don't need to remind me. I've got my alarm set. I'm ready.
I'm not asking for your predictions because I think we all know what your top 4 will be. So
Yes.
we'll leave your predictions out of the window.
Well, okay, no, I'll be quite honest. I'll give a bit of a stray one. Aston Martin, I feel like they're going to have a very good event.
Oh, do you?
For his first event, I feel like Aston Martin are going to be
Better
quite
than Red
strong.
Bull?
No, I can never go against my own boys, but no. There's again, you look at that grid. There's so many drivers up and down. I mean, even for reserve drivers, the talent level is absolutely stacked for them.
Like, the team I'm excited to see before we get into the quali action, Haas. They've got Shanika Clay, legend of the league racing scene, and then they've got Joris and Tamash. To me, that is a very, very potential, championship winning lineup maybe in a couple seasons' time. So, but they're the team I'm excited to watch. But every team, is going to be good. We've had so many changes this year. But Josh, enough about esports because we know E-Series is better. We've got Q3 underway. We've got our final lap starting. Let's see.
We've got Will Lewis.
And we've got John Evans. Remember,
damn right,
legend. Let's see what he can do.
So we're going to see here as he approaches up towards Eau Rouge and Razion. I would try and make something more of his corner, but nowadays it is just completely flat. It's at this point it's just a hill, isn't it? It's basically a straight. He's full flat, completely all the way, maxing out 8th gear, exactly as you would like before he picks his braking zone. He's going to go past 100, right on the brink there of the 50-metre board, flicking it into the right, left, then it swerves back. The car at this point is already trying to escape from under you, but John Evans doing everything he needs to keep that Ferrari under control. I'm calling it a Ferrari. If you've got an opinion on it, complain to F1 World Cars. I'm not listening. As you can see him now piecing it together, and this is the magic of Spa. Once you get that lap started to get, the first couple pieces correct, it all flows so beautifully here through P1, kissing both the apexes, not running too wide to make sure he keeps over towards the left-hand side, riding the curb on the entry, flicking the car back in towards the right, over to the left, avoiding the inside curb, riding on the exit, as you would expect. He's absolutely caressing this track. This is beautiful to watch. It's so smooth. It's so fluid. He's not janking the steering wheel over towards the right hand side now to minimize our track difference here. All the way now down in towards Blanchimont. Of course, not necessarily a corner in this car because of the amount of downforce it has, but he's absolutely fully flat to the floor before picking his braking zone here. Just 100-metre board, braking in diagonal line, try and get as much of an open exit as he ends up invalidating his lap time. That's catastrophic for John.
It is. There's nothing that he can do now to improve from third place, as we still have many cars to head to the line and try and take that pole position. Leo Lund manages no higher than P7 here for Veloci Academy. Topias Covenant, P5 for FVR. What about Luca Rapassa? Only P8. He can't find any improvements. Larry Talkie onto the front row. Brilliant lap. And Will Lewis will not find an improvement. Lillian Derbicourt to the top. Race clutch on provisional pole. Jan Halliday goes even quicker. And Jan Halliday on pole. What about Danny? He stays P5. And I don't think Julian is on a run. No, he's going to be staying P8. It's TES on pole position by a 10th ahead of Lillian Derbicourt for race clutch. And I think the surprise one there, FER, a top 4 qualifying position. That is mental for them. That is massive.
Absolutely. A fantastic job for FBR, but I do just want to point out 6 different constructors in the top 6. It's just E-Series at the end of the day, isn't it?
Ooh, I can't wait.
Pick and mix.
What a race.
Whichever team you want. You can have a little bit of a curveball, but I believe we're about to say the exact same point here, mate. There's no teammates to help each other here for the A's.
That's what I was going to say, yeah. There's no help at all.
This could be absolutely ridiculous.
Oh, and Johanna Martin says John Split was 0.13 faster. Well, doesn't matter, he invalidated. He didn't complete the lap, did he?
It could be 0.13 faster,
Maxi,
but he's starting
no,
P6.
I'm not going to answer that because I know exactly what it is. It's going to be about Ninja, and I'm not listening to that. So, no. But yeah, I've never seen someone invalidate that inside corner. No, I don't know how, because how did he cut? How did he cut that corner? I don't understand. It didn't look like he invalidated it.
No, I think he might have just took a bit too much curb and the game was like, oh, no, that's definitely an advantage gained, and he probably would have lost time, to be quite honest with it. But, sometimes that's the way the game works. He was definitely on the absolute limit, as we can see, but sometimes you push to the limits, and unfortunately, it doesn't always work, as we will be having our mandatory lobby restart to make sure they can actually race, and they're not ghosting inside each other for the entire race. But in the meantime, For those of you who might have missed it slightly earlier when was going through all the microphone difficulties, Nathan has to do an introduction for us in Dutch. He said it very quickly before, but I feel like now's the time for him to really show his bilingual ability.
Well, goedenavond, kijkers. Good evening, viewers. There we are. I was requested by Luca Rapassa to say that, so he can't say that I don't listen to what he asked me to do because I've done it. I butchered it heavily. All the Dutch people will have a go at me in the chats.
Absolutely.
I mean, he did tell me to say something else, but when I searched it up on Translate, it was not something that I'll be saying on the stream. But Josh, we have our restart, of course, don't we? So I think it's a perfect time to have a word from our brilliant sponsors at GT Omega.
Mate, I'm not sure what's just happened. How is that what happened? I'm lost for words.
That was at the corner of my
lost
eye.
for words. I'm lost for words. Liam Dovercourt has somehow just managed to slingshot his car at the
And somehow not
beyond
DNF.
Yeah, that was not 220 miles an hour. I think he genuinely hit a bump or something, went airborne, and ended up accelerating even higher. Because that car flew past at the end of a Kemmel straight over the chicane, and he kept it on the circuit. That's mightily impressive. But we're now just waiting for all the drivers to retire, so we get back into the lobby.
Look
But
in the chat.
these drivers.
Zay says, if that's aimed at me, I'm not. Who is Zay? Because I feel like oh wait, I know who you are. I'm stupid. Yes, Ben. I mean,
Oh my God, Liam's doing it
always
again.
got
Straight
into
into the pit lane.
wait, how was that? How has his wheel not fallen off?
He's built different.
He flew
But
to
he's
the pits at
disqualified from the
130
session,
kilometres an hour, and his wheel just stayed on. Right, why they're not retiring?
Again,
Right, you know what, Connor? For everybody that completed lap 1, they should get a 10-second time penalty.
Mate, let's not give Kryptonite more work.
Veloci Academy still managed to get double stacked.
So, in case anyone's missed previous rounds, Veloci Academy have a very unfortunate curse. Typically, whenever they pit, they always get double stacked behind someone.
Yes.
It's just happened in the practice session.
With 6 people entering the pits.
You can't make it up, can you,
can't.
for him?
No.
Because, you could argue that if the double stacking didn't happen, Veloci Academy could very well be leading the championship.
Yes. I mean, I feel like it's safe to say that
think.
they would... Right. I'm not going to say they would definitely
Go
be
on.
leading it, because that's unfair to TES, but they would be a lot closer than they are now. I mean, Will Gibson, every Friday night, I just hear, oh, we got double stacked. That's why we're not winning. They're lucky. We're unlucky. Every Friday, Will Gibson has to have a moan. So
Yeah.
I'd rather the double stacks get sorted there, because I don't want to listen to Will Gibson going on in my ear. That's the last thing I need on a Friday night.
Well,
That sounds weird, but everyone knows what I mean. Come on.
Yeah,
I've
everyone knows
realised what I
what you
just said.
Yeah. Last thing we want is Will Gibson in your ear. Yeah.
Oh,
Interesting,
dear
my
me.
friend. Right, well, I'll leave you with Will Gibson in your ear. But I feel like we should probably talk about the calendar, because
Yes.
it's one of those things where we've not really touched on it, but after this round, there's only 2 left.
Mhm.
So, points here. This is really the momentum swing. This is the opportunity that these teams have to really try and get that final little dash across the line. And with Azerbaijan, Brazil, 2 great tracks for racing and overtaking. Racing loosely, DRS trains, but overtaking very easily probable. There's great opportunities for both tracks to really be able to have a proper scrap and a proper ding-dong fight. Of course, we've got the break next week due to F1 sim racing, and then rounding it up on the 24th and the 31st of January. For me, the Azerbaijan race is going to be the one to watch.
Definitely. What a track that is.
With the level of talent we have here, with the drivers, we know 1 or 2 of them have already started thinking, Just chip my front wing end plate off down
Josh.
like straight on Q3. It's fine, right?
Why do I feel like we're going to get a Perez signs again? I feel like that's written in the stars of Baku with E-Series because, think about it, not every team uses their best lineup every week. You look at half the teams, you think, well, you could have used someone a lot better than you. Not going to name names.
Yeah.
But give it, obviously, next week and in Brazil in the last round, teams surely are going to be more likely to try and use their better lineups, to try and get and maximise those points. So the grids will probably get stronger than they are now, and already they are very strong. I mean, we've got esports drivers, we've got development drivers here as well, but it can always get better. And that's the good thing about E-Series, there's no limit to the best.
It's a good thing, and it's also a terrifying thing as well. And, it's one of those things where I feel like a little bit does somewhat depend on what happens in the week with F1 sim racing, because we'll use Ferrari as the example, right? Because it's the easiest one, right? Instead of juggling through RG's 200 billion drivers, right? If Barry and Nico go out there, completely dominate all the races in that first event, why not just put them in for the last two?
I mean,
here in E-Series, like,
but Josh, they're not going to return home, are they, on Friday? If everything ends Thursday, hey, they're going to get home in one day when they've got to sort everything out.
We've got a break week, my friend.
Oh, well, why's the dates not changed on our calendar?
Well, maybe not on the one you've got, but it's changed on mine.
Oh, I've got the old one.
Brother's not even using the new calendar. Here we go.
Oh, is there actually a break week next week? I didn't know that.
Yes. We will be racing on the 24th and the 31st of January. For those of you who aren't aware, there is a break week. But I'm sure if you put Barry and Nico in a car, I'm sure they'll be able to get back for Friday.
Yes, well,
the pace they've got.
I'll do something a lot more stupid now. Joshua also looks
right.
old.
Okay. Right. The stress I've gone through dealing with Nathan.
To be fair, Josh, your hairline, it's.
Mate, my hairline's not even bad. I'll show it. I'll show it proudly.
Mine's
we're
not looking at mine. Mine's got
exactly.
I've got a widow's peak, whatever they call it. It's like a triangle. We're not showing that on live.
You've got a triangle. Brother, we need to see this.
No.
We need to see this.
Listen,
Jack,
I know for a fact that half the people in here are going to screenshot it, and it's going to be in all these different Discord servers as a sticker.
The best part is, right? I'll be quite honest. I'm 23, right? I could play
You're only 23.
Look at... Yeah, exactly. Only 23. I'm young. Nathan, how old are you?
20.
Why do you look 6 years older than me?
I don't look. I'm not 26.
Why does it look like you've gone through 2 more divorces than me?
I feel like I have. That's why.
Oh no, but no. Realistically, it's one of those things. I feel like we should probably touch on age as well because
touch on age.
Drivers. Yeah, we should because these drivers, we are practically grandparents. Like they're what?
Remember Nico Benz? He just turned 12, didn't he?
Yeah, exactly. Like to me, that's crazy. Like Lewis Hamilton started racing in Formula One before Nico Benz was born. I remember Lewis debuting in McLaren. Completely.
If Nico Benz is 13 now, that means he was born in 2012, which means Fernando Alonso had been racing in Formula One for 12 years.
He was born the London Olympics.
He was born the year GTA 5 came out.
That says everything then, really, doesn't it?
Like, these drivers are like... It's mad to think that they're like 11, 12, 13, 14, and they can perform at such a high level. It's mental. I mean... I'm 20 and I'm literally like 2 seconds off half of these guys.
I'm like 10 seconds quicker, but I just don't do it. It's nice.
I mean, to be fair, Christian calls us old, but Christian's like 30. Like, he can't call us old.
That's fine. If Christian needs to cling to straws with his age, that's fine. It's okay. Well, we still love you, Christian. There's a place for us golf dogs.
Right, gotta say, why is the lobby taking so long today? Dylan is not on it like he always is.
Mate.
Oh, it's Matteo, sorry.
It's not Dylan.
It's a newbie.
Dylan is a trained professional. Matteo has took the reins here.
He's a trainee.
With Dylan's laptop. He's a young trainee. He's an apprentice. He's a prodigy. He's going to be hosting the lobbies for centuries to come. Right? We just got to give him a bit of time, and that's perfectly fine. Gives us a little opportunity to waffle. But there's only so much waffle we can do because we are in Belgium. There is a street waffle. Nathan, what is your favourite Belgian food?
Street waffle.
Interesting.
Because that's the only Belgian food I've tried.
Okay.
I mean, I've got to be honest, to the Belgians in here, I did prefer the Netherlands because their roads are actually nice to drive on. I'm not kidding you. When I switched from the Netherlands border to the Belgian border, I felt the road change immediately. I'm like, are we in Belgium? How do you know? The road. It was just going bump, 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 bump.
Brother's just getting himself banned from Belgium at this point.
I love the country. I went to Zolder. What a track that is. Underrated as hell.
Mate, honestly, I really want F1 to go back to Zolder. I know it's not possible with the size
I mean,
of the cars.
there's like 4 chicanes. Half the drivers wouldn't be able to make one lap. I mean, it's such a difficult track, isn't it?
It's difficult. The car's too big, but it could be absolutely fantastic. Loving the lighting. Thank you.
Not that bad.
Thank you, Timon. I appreciate it. Also, love your reaction on the poll, Timon. You never go. But no, realistically, you look at that sort of Benelux area for racetracks.
Brilliant, aren't they?
You're spoiled for choice. I mean, you think even Old Zandvoort, New Zandvoort, both of them are absolutely fantastic. Zolder, Spa, of course, absolutely fantastic.
I mean, Josh, thoughts Spa bit off the calendar. What's your thoughts on that? Because it is, isn't it? 2028, 2030.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, let's be honest, it's a shame because of its iconicness, but if Spa wasn't iconic, I wouldn't care, because we haven't had a good race in there for about 5 years.
So, the thing with that, I'm happy that it's been renewed, and I'm happy that it will still be part of the calendar until 2030.
We need to bring Zandvoort back. We need to, it deserves to have a place on the calendar for those couple of years, whichever track's going to be there. I mean, there's rumours of there being a Grand Prix, I think, Rwanda, but I'd rather have a Grand Prix at Kyalami than a made-up track in Rwanda. Why not just use a track that's there instead of making a brand new one?
But then you get that same sort of problem, right?
What?
It could be good, right, to go use Kyalami, but is Kyalami fit for F1? We're currently undergoing renovations. Will it actually create good racing, or are we going there for a historical point, right? Because if we had a completely custom-built track somewhere else, right, whatever country, we can make that for that spec of F1 car.
We had Miami, Josh, and where did that turn out? In Las Vegas.
We had Jeddah. Look at how that's turned out. Phenomenal circuit. We've had Baku. Look how that's turned out. Phenomenal circuit. We've had China. Phenomenal circuit.
I disagree on Baku, but the others, fair.
Excuse me. Sorry. It's only because Lance Stroll got a podium.
You can race for one corner, which is turn 1.
You're fuming, mate.
And then after that, you've got cars spinning it into each other.
Lance Stroll has a podium and Nico Hulkenberg doesn't. Hold it. Hold the L. That's all I'm saying.
I mean...
Stroll's better. Simple.
Oh, there we go.
Simple. Sorry. Canadian mastermind.
I'm not going to have that.
Alonso said he's going to be a future team leader. Means he's a future world champion.
Alonso said a lot of things. Let's be honest, he doesn't mean any of it, does he? The stuff he said on the radio.
No. He means, like...
I remember his comments about Lewis when there was on lap 1 of Spa. He said he can only win a race when he starts from first. I mean, I'm not going to agree because it's certainly not true, but the stuff Fernando comes out with when he's angry, it's brilliant. Love it.
Yeah, honestly, Maximilian, I love China, on God. Genuinely, I remember... Oh,
hang on. Right, we know why Maximilian loves China, because it's the only track he's good at on the F1 game. And oh my, Josh, look at the start. We've got a wet start at Belgium.
Oh, I thought he was going to tell me you had a wet start at China. Oh, I thought he was racing at China. Oh,
what a surprise. They've all got intermediate tyres.
Oh, surprise. Intermediate tyres. Clearly the best way forward. I agree with Maximilian. I genuinely just think we just only ever race China. China in the 2000s.
I love the Shanghai International Circuit.
It's fantastic. It really, really is. Malaysia, another great one. Fuji, another fantastic one which should be on the calendar. But we can go all day with tracks which should and shouldn't be on the calendar, realistically, because it doesn't really matter. Nostalgia's going to take over. I mean, if you think of Imola, right? Everyone was begging for Imola to come back. It's come back, and
I love it. It's my favourite track ever in motorsport.
Yeah, a couple wet races. You could argue it's not delivered. It's one of those.
No, but the thing is, tracks are just judged on F1.
Yeah. I mean, you take that.
Right, Josh. I'd love to carry on the conversation, but I'd rather you focus on getting ready to commentate this start, because surely you're going to need to have your voice box more than ready for this, because, turn 1.
Right. Okay, hold on. Let me get a warm up. Nathan! No, Nathan! Right, okay, brilliant, lovely. Right, I'm all ready. I'm cooking. I'm here. I'm looking forward. I'm going to see if anyone's going to try and do an Esteban Ocon. I'm also going to see if anyone tries to do a Roman Grosjean. well, there's a lot which can happen on the road up to Eau Rouge Radion and down the Kemmel Straight. We're about to find out with 5 red lights, and it's lights out. Away we go. Brilliant start there from Lillian Derbacourt. Just trying to encroach into Jan Halliday here, all on the intermediate tyre. So there will be a little bit tetchy just heading through. A little bit of contact slightly further back there between Topius and Will Lewis, but it's all balanced out relatively fairly. Drivers now piling themselves down. The spray is going to be immense. Drivers will be looking at trying to find any sort of room to see where they're heading. Drivers left, right. All of a sudden, we've got a little bit of contact there with Lucas Rapasser in the middle. We've got drivers going too wide here, down the Kemmel Straight, looking to try and break it, perhaps into 3-4 wide. Emily on top of Seto's left for Sesh. We've got 3 wide there. Oh. Huge moment there. I believe that's Topius Koivunen, who just ran it a little bit wide, a little bit deep. And Will Lewis gets caught up in that. He's down to P5, not the start the young Brit would have wanted, but he's going to be looking to try and close in slightly further. Julian Clafferbock.
Oh, Julian!
Julian's round! And down towards the back of the grid. I've also noticed the hex colour for the icon is different. Please, let's not report that one. Let's just give him a fair warning. But we do have drivers here piling on through, with Danny Van Routen doing a great job hopping up into P3. With these intermediate conditions, it's going to play a little bit more of a long game here. Without the aid of DRS down the Kemmel Straight, drivers going to have to be a little bit more tactical with the ERS deployment. So just there, Ariana Grande herself looking to try and dance around the outside. Little wheel tapping. Thinks better of it.
Yeah, and look at the gap now. He's brought that gap to over a second here between second and third between Lillian and Danny as we head our way through Stavelot for the first time, of course. Lap 1 of 22, 21 laps to go after this in this race. It's going to be a long, long race indeed in these wet conditions, and of course could get even longer once we start to have those pit stops if the conditions do go dry, as we do see still Topius Koivunen here looking to make a move ahead of the CPI driver who got 7th versus 8th in the standings versus 10th in the standings as Will Lewis looks to make a move. He gets pushed out wide. Through goes John Evans into P4, makes a move, and that's going to be a bit of desync there, I think, because Will Lewis, I think, had a bit of contact, but it didn't look like anything there on my camera view as we head our way into turn 1 again. He drops down to P8 as we do see Topius as well drop down to P8 and Larry Tolkey up into P9 after a very poor start on lap number 1. So still inside the top 10, but barely for FVR as we head our way up Eau Rouge and Radion now. Of course, just on board here with Nelson Alves, looking to jump up into the top 10 here. Of course, needs it for TES because really they want to try and increase that gap they have at the front of the standings.
Absolutely, and Will Lewis now, he didn't need any more fire in his belly, but he's certainly looking to try and cause a little bit of drama. He's forced Topius to go a little bit deeper than he would like, but this is where the team game is going to start coming into play with FVR. They're going to be able to box him in and 2-on-1 gang up on him a little bit to try and help each other to gain that position. Will's going to have his work cut out for him, similar to what Danny Van Routen's going to have up in P4 in between both of the Lotte cars, looking to try and hammer away and try and crack it away in towards that top 3. It's going to be a tall order, but we know what CPI and we know what DVR is able to do. As we say that, Lillian Derbacourt, Jan Halliday, they've checked out, they've checked in for the flight, and they're flying off. They're looking already and thinking about Azerbaijan. 2.4 seconds the gap. It's a long race ahead of them. They've got to keep ahead. They can't afford to completely clock out, but they've got that little bit of a safe buffer they've been looking for, and it's going to be an opportunity now to close in as we've got more fighting towards the black. We've got the green cars, we've got the TRTs, and the R8Gs having a little bit of a scrap as well. R8G not having the start they would have wanted in any regard. Down in P18 and P19, we know Julian deserve to be there. Let's see how they're going to try and pull themselves back in towards that top 10 with moves going left, right, and centre before the bus stop chicane. Very brave moves in Blanchimont. Great stuff there from Nelson Alves.
Indeed, as we do see here, Topius Koivunen still looking to work his way back through the field after that bit of an incident a couple of laps ago. Looks to try and get past John Evans here for P6. We do see further down there, we have one TRT making an overtake and one of them being overtaken as we head our way down to turn 1 there. We did see Matteo Longa there looking for a move around the outside into turn 1 at La Source, but wasn't quite close enough there and had to back out, and unfortunately does stay down in P18. And I think there Julian Klaffenbach could be suffering with a little bit of damage as well after that incident on the opening lap down at entrance to turn number 10. A big shame there for R8G and Julian, as we do see there further ahead. We've got Danny Van Routen there looking to close in on the back of Leo Lund. Of course, a brilliant start by Veloci Academy, who had a poor qualifying, I think, P9 and P10, and now in the race, 3 laps in, sitting P3 and P5, a perfect way that Veloci Academy want this race to start, and of course, hopefully, try and get both of them on the podium. But that gap, Josh, it's starting to increase, isn't it now? 2.3 seconds between second and third, and Jan Hardy and Lillian Derbacourt doing what TES and Race Clutch know that they can do, and just pull away and keep increasing that gap.
Yeah, we talked about Veloce Academy. Had a great opportunity to close up in the points gap. We mentioned that, yes, they are P3, P5, but Jan Halliday's managed to get into the lead of a race, and Nelson Alves clawed himself up into P9 here, and he's looking to pile the pressure on Will Lewis sitting in P8 here, so this could be a fantastic day for TES if they're able to even maintain that gap and create a little bit more of a buffer and just take it over into round 9 of this championship. Of course, out of 10 rounds, it's going to be all to play for, but so far, those two drivers have been the star studs of the field. They have been far and away two of the brightest drivers on this grid, and you would expect it with the caliber that they have in their respective development teams, but they've not had it easy, and they're certainly not having it easy at the moment with Nelson Alves here looking to try and put it up the inside of Will Lewis. But so much came. Will Lewis is having absolutely none of that, and now he's going to be forced towards the outside here. Yes, my friend.
Could you please send a friend request to Elliot Tomasetto on Steam, please, so we can get back in?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. Because he asked me to do it, but I can't be. There's some streaming, so I can't tab out. But hopefully you can get Elliot in soon. I'm sorry, Elliot, that I didn't see the message earlier. I only just saw the notification pop up on Steam. But if you send a message to Josh, JGM on Discord, he'll get you invited back into the session. But we do have, of course, intense battling here. On lap 4 of 22, we do see Luca Rapassa making a double overtake here to make it P3 and, well, back to P3, P5. But this time, Luca and Leo swap around, and Danny still sticks in the middle there as we head our way down to turn number 10 once again. We'll see if any more moves are made, and I don't think they are, as we head our way into the braking zone. Of course, Topia still on the charge here as Will Lewis does get overtaken again, and this time drops down to P11 behind Larry Tolkien and possibly behind his teammate here, but he has got damage. Will Lewis does have damage, hence why he's dropping back and also letting his teammate through, because he knows there's no point trying to push forward in the wet weather on intermediate tyres, of course, with damage. It's a horrible combo to have here, as we just still keep on board here with Topias in P6, looking to hunt down Leo Lund, and Leo knows that Topias has got the pace to overtake, so Leo's got to get past Danny as soon as he can and try and push forward. Of course, news at the front of the field, Lillian Derbigal has got a 1.3 second gap behind Jan Hurday. That gap now increasing over a second, and the rain, it's looking like it's starting to calm down. I can't see much on my screen, but of course it depends on the graphics settings, but I can't see any rain at all falling. I think the rain, Josh, is either very little or possibly has stopped, because it's quite hard to see it on my screen.
Yeah, it could potentially have stopped, but even if it has stopped, we saw how...
Josh, we have news in the chat. It's either rain dry, maybe dry, or rain dry, rain dry.
Oh, so it's going to be who's feeling brave enough to try and hang it out in, well, intermediate conditions. Who's going to be able to drag it a little bit longer?
Can you please come closer to your mic again? We can't hear you.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to sort this, my friend. It's going to be one of those where it's who's going to be brave enough to try and drag out that intermediate tyre for as long as possible. And that's never really a game you want to play under any circumstances. But at the same time, all the drivers, they are relatively in the same boat, so to say here.
Indeed, as we do see a move there by Nelson Alves to P8 here for TES after starting in 12th place. So many moves have been made here by Nelson, and now he's in contention for some very high points here in this round here at Belgium. As we do see further behind as well, Larry Tolkien looking to gain back in and make a move ahead of Jerry Van Bussel. Jerry seemed to have dropped back a little bit in the race. Of course, had a decent start, but since then has kind of started to lack a bit of pace, and many cars are kind of hungry to get past him here and make their moves as we head our way through P1 corner. Of course, we can see as well behind Florian Van Zelta looking to try and get a top 10 here for ABS. I don't think they've had that many this season, so it would be a great opportunity here for Van Zelta to increase his confidence if he can jump up into the top 10 and get ABS some much-deserved points here in this championship. And, of course, looking further ahead then, we did see Topias Corvin within a 10th of Leo Lund, so I'm not sure if he suffered a bit of a mistake heading through the double right-hander, as we do see Matteo Longe, unfortunately, getting a 3-second penalty, not being the best race for him at all, of course, dropping out in Q2 and being 3 seconds behind the train with a penalty. Not what he would have wanted going through into this round. And have we had any luck here with Elliot, Josh?
I'm trying my absolute best at the moment.
Hopefully we can get him in soon. It's, of course, not what TF10 wants. We do have a pit stop here. Lenny Pepinta, because the rain has stopped on circuit, Lenny Pepinta drives in early, looking to make a change, and the question is, does he go into surely it will be onto dry tyres here if he's making a gamble. So into the pits goes Papinta. What would it be? Medium tyres. Now the question is, can they go to the end? I'd presume they could, but I'm not 100% sure. So Papinta trying something different here. Race Clutch going for a bit of a different strategy compared to everybody else here in the field, as we do have a great move possibly making here for Julian Klaffenbach. Tries to get past Dylan Warren. Dylan Warren uses Woolloos as a bit of a barricade, so Julian can't make the pass. But Julian can make the pass around the outside as they head down towards Brussels corner at turn number 8. And brilliant move there by Julian Klaffenbach. Jumps up into the top 13, and he's still trying to close down and hopefully get a top 10 here for RHG. As we look further ahead, of course, yet again, the gap between Luca and Lillian is starting to decrease now. Only 2 seconds, now lower than 2 seconds for a moment, into 1.9 as we could really still have a good battle for the lead of the Grand Prix. And of course, we can see the track is drying up. We can see the rain has finished, but of course, we have had rumours that the rain could come back near the end of the Grand Prix. So it's all about making that risk and just trying something different here to try and get yourself onto that winning strategy. All about luck, I think, at this point in the Grand Prix, of whether that rain does come back. Because if it doesn't come back, you'd pit onto dries there and go to the end. But of course, if the rain does come back to the end, the last thing you want is wet conditions on old, medium or hard tyres. But we do have pit stops underway. Debecourt and Van Ruyten. We have Leo Lund as well jumping into the pit lane. And many cars, though, still, Josh, choosing to stay out. What would you do if you was in this position? Oh, and Alves gets a 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Now, that is massive here for TES, Josh, because the gaps are that close. He might be out of the top 10 here.
Yeah, but personally, I'll be along the similar lines to try and dive it in the pits here, because if you think, if that DRS opens, you're still in the
He's back.
Cars, right? Still got an opportunity. Brilliant stuff. He's back. I can get out of the pause menu. Welcome back in. Thomas, hopefully you'll be able to dive it into the pits before the AI ends up taking control and makes you do another lap. He's back in the pit lane. Lovely stuff. So he's going to be back in the race here. Hopefully he's going to be able to get back and try and get a charge back on. Hopefully his race hasn't been entirely ruined. It'd be very difficult for him to get back. But of course, any finish is a points finish. Now the DRS is enabled as well. This opens the opportunity for these dry compound runners. If the rain does come back, they're able to trade DRS with one another to make sure that they're able to catch back up and try and build that gap to the intermediates. Disturb the intermediates. Don't let them run their race. Don't let them try and save their tyres. Force them off the racing line. Force them to use a little bit more of their tyres. Overheat a bit. And then at that moment, you're able to really capitalise and strike when the iron's hot. And be able to make the most of those soft compound, or, well, I say soft compound, dry compound, slick tyres over the grooved intermediates on this dry circuit.
Hey, Josh, look at the gaps.
Yeah, they're coming. They're coming, mate. I'm telling you, Lillian is absolutely on fire on that medium tyre. Matteo Longate looks like a sitting duck at the moment through Sector 2.
He does,
and that's before he was heading into Blanchemont. But now this is where Lillian might have to have a little bit of caution, depending on where the intermediate tyres are really going to break, as we do see Jan Halde diving into the pits now, but I feel like damage might already be done, unfortunately, for the TES, VA and FPR driver, but the rest of the drivers are all following suit here, all into the pits. They all understand hopping over onto the mediums now is probably going to be the best course of action. Lillian doesn't even have to fight there, gets that position back, and now takes the net race lead here at the Belgian Grand Prix and E-Series. Question is, who's going to be able to mount a challenge to Lillian at the moment?
I mean, he's going to come out. Oh, it's going to be close here between Halliday and Lillian. And Lillian does just about get ahead here. The gap's just under a second now as we head up the hill, of course, through Rouge and Radion. But, of course, the gap will start to increase, of course, because of the lower speed carried by Jan Halliday, of course, after exiting the pit lane. So 1.3 seconds at the moment is the gap between the top two. And, of course, it was Debecourt. That was a second and a half behind Halliday earlier on. And now he's a second and a half ahead, so he's gained 3 seconds from that earlier pit stop, as we do see a move here by Utopia's Corvin and having a battle here with Nelson Alves. Of course, Alves has a 10-second penalty, so he will be dropping all the way down the field as the laps get underway. He'll easily be down to P14, P15, so it's a big shame for Nelson Alves here to be such in a poor situation due to a little misjudgment entering into the pit lane. But of course, Papinta, remember, started last. Of course, having that early pit stop, he's came out P13, so has gained many positions from the early stop. So it's looking decent here for Papinta. But of course, the big one is Lillian Debecourt, who's of course got a P1 position by over a second and a half to Jan Halliday.
I don't want to say people are complaining about a double stack, but People are complaining about a double stack again. They're not happy. Can you guess what team it was?
ABS and VA, because look where Will Lewis is. And
Yeah,
look where
it's
Luca Rapassa is.
Not been ideal. It's certainly not been the race so far that Will Lewis was hoping for. But of course, we were only lap 8. There's still a long way to go.
Yeah,
so
there is.
Head down, game face, focus. This is where it's, for lack of a better sense, hammer time. Especially if you're a Danny Van Routen currently on the hard compound tyre.
Taking something different.
Yeah, a little different. Of course, we saw the intermediates being a little bit different. It worked out CPI there as well. But perhaps, maybe looking to try and just stretch it until the end of the race, have a slightly more competitive tyre at the end, and kind of just sit in a DRS train at the moment, just pulling himself along up towards, the rear of the Jan Hallidays and the Lilian Derbycourts, who seem to be a little bit more comfortably ahead. But of course, that'll come down lap after lap with the DRS. As long as they're efficient in trading it, they can't afford to sit and fight one another. And I'm fairly confident Leo Lund, Topias Koivunen, Nelson Alves and Dan Van Roten all know that. They all know they're going to have to sit there and work together in order to have a chance to win this race here tonight.
They certainly will, as we do see ABS here, Florian Vanzelt, putting some pressure onto the back of Dylan Warren as they went down towards turn 8. It's not too often we see that happening here in PSGL E-Series. Of course, sitting behind him is Luca Rapassa, who we know is going to be eager to make moves after getting that double stack earlier on in the pit lane. Has lost pretty much, 7 positions after that. Going to be very angry indeed, and I can't say I blame him at all. So he'll be hungry to get some moves here. You can see on the power way earlier than Florian and Dylan ahead, as we do see Will Lewis with a penalty, a 3-second tyre penalty for multiple warnings. That pretty much ruins Will Lewis's chance of a top 10 here, as we do see a brilliant move. Tobias Koivunen into P3 ahead of Leo Lund, and FVR on for a podium here as the race continues on. Of course, still many laps to go, but Tobias looking very strong on pace.
But did he need to do that move? Could he not have just waited behind Leo? Because now they've lost another half a second to Jan Halliday in P2. It's not necessarily going to be working in their favour towards the end of the race. Now, it's all perfectly fine and dandy if, they don't necessarily believe that was achievable. But given the pace that Lillian and Jan are going to now have with that ability to trade DRS and potentially work together and bounce off each other, they might have just done their own race by going for that move and having that little bit of a battle, instead of just falling in line and understanding that there's 12 laps left. Let's just play it safer now. Let's follow order and let's take this race at our pace. Let's catch back up to them and let's be able to properly try and make a challenge. Because with the way things are going, if you're a Lillian or a Jan at this moment, I can't imagine that you would necessarily want to get too much in a fight. Unless maybe you're Jan and you're thinking for Nelson's sake to try and get in a fight, but Nelson's already got that penalty, so it kind of answers its own question.
Yeah, I don't think there's any point here of Jan fighting, because the gap's 3 seconds. He might as well try to secure that P2 or at least a P1 for the TEST, and there's no, you don't fight even when you've got cars behind you at this point in the race. It achieves nothing. It only loses your time, and when you've got a 3-second advantage, even though they're in different teams, Jan and Lillian will have that gentleman's agreement of, right, we'll work together, get to them. We can have our battle at the end, but for now, just keep that gap at what it is. Leave them teams behind, and, we can push for a 1-2, for, a 1 or a 2 for our respective teams, as we do see there possibly moves happening further afield. Of course, Topias Koivunen on the back here of Nelson Alves, and the good thing here for Danny is he's kept on the back of these guys because they're battling and closing down. He's kept behind them. His tyres are going to be better at the end. And the main thing is, we've been told in the chat that rain could be possibly entering at lap 18. If that's the case, Van Ruyten's going to be on better tyres than the others. On the sake of that, they're a harder compound. They're not going to be as, worn. And we do know that the less worn the tyre, the better it is in the wet. So this could have been a bit of a masterclass here by CPI if the rain does start to fall in a few laps' time.
We'll just have to wait and see for that very moment, won't we, Nathan? We're going to have to keep an eye open for that, as we do see John Evans there getting completely mugged down the straight without the aid of DRS, losing 3 positions as Florian, Luca Rapassa and Julian Klaffenbach all dance their way around him. He's not going to be happy with that, and Ferrari won't necessarily be happy with a P10 and P11 at the moment, but we know what their work ethic is when it comes towards these long-haul races. They're more than happy to sit back in the pack a little bit and then really turn it up towards the end of the races. But similar things can be said for a lot of these drivers, a lot of these teams. We sit there and look up and down the field. There's still a lot of opportunities. looking at Jerry Van Bussel down in P16, if the rain does come, and he is on that favourable tyre, as you've already mentioned, there's potential for him to get involved in a couple of these fights and really start causing a little bit of disruption towards that lower end of the top 10, if not trying to break his way into maybe the top 8.
Definitely, but you can see here Julian Klaffenbach, he's fighting hard here just to catch back to Danny Van Ruyten and this train ahead of him. Of course, Julian, what a strategy he's had to recover himself. He was half spun, down to P17 at the end of lap 1. He's now up into P7, on the brink of closing into DRS here for the top 3. Let's see, can he break? Can he get into that 1 second gap? It's going to be hard. It's 1.1, so not quite close enough here. But of course, can he get into that DRS ready for when they go down that Kemmel straight? Of course, if he doesn't get the DRS, which I don't think he will, it'll just be Luca Rapassa's turn to fight through, use that DRS to catch up and just keep ping-ponging between each other to get into that 1 second, because they both want to be in that main train here for the top 3 as we do head our way down the Kemmel straight, as we do see moves happening left, right and centre. Nelson Alves being left for dust as we head our way into turn number 6 at the Lake Commentary Chicane, and Danny Van Ruyten says, well, actually, I'll go for 2 moves. He jumps ahead of Leo London, now goes into P4 on the hard tyres. Already, Danny's looking to become a little bit stronger than the others on this tyre, so it's looking like it's worked very well for CPR on this strategy. Of course, not so well, though, for Jerry Van Bussel down in P16, and not going to score that many points at this current moment.
But the opportunity later in the race is going to be so huge for Jerry to be able to get some more points, to be able to claw back a little bit. Currently 1.5, sitting around that ballpark, not losing too much time to the likes of Daniele Parodi, who's also out of DRS range of the next pack in front. But that being said, I do believe now we've got a little bit of a DRS trade, which has officially formed between the rest of the pack. Now Julian's caught up to the back of Lucas Rapassa, and now all of a sudden, potentially looking at maybe, I don't want to say it because I don't want to jinx it, but a couple 3 wide battles down into the end of that Kemmel straight.
I think we can definitely see that happening, especially when we
got
got 2
teammates. I don't want to say it. Let's say it, mate, because how many times have you saw 3 cars go wide there and it not work out for them?
I want to see all that. I want to see the action. I want to see all the action unfold. As I've got to say,
I
am sorry though, but I have got a bit of lag on my end, so I am sorry. I'm not sure if it's my game or if the server's just having a bit of a hissy fit.
I think it's the servers, to be honest, mate, because there's a little bit of jittering here, there, and everywhere. But it's not the end of the world. We can still see these cars battle tooth and nail for every position on track. But next on the chopping block, Tobias Koivunen. Does he choose to defend? No, he pulls out to the right-hand side. Very happily lets Danny Van Ruyten back past and swaps position. Now, that buffer is still at 3 seconds, but not catching at any rate of knots, to be quite honest with you, to Lillian and Jan. So, question is, if you're, in Jan's position, or if you're in Lillian's position, what's the plan? What's the play? Do you try and break out? Do you even bother, or do you stock it all up for that last lap and really try and get a dump? And
you just stay together. I mean, you can gain the ERS back in 1 lap easily. All right, well, maybe 2 laps, depending on how much you lose. But if you want to lose minimum time, you can easily gain it back within 2 or 3 laps around this circuit. So Lillian hasn't got to worry about burning the battery now, because he can easily save it up for the last couple of laps, of course, when these two want to have their main battle for the lead of the Grand Prix. Of course, further behind, they're also going to be thinking about that, because it's going to be hard to catch up to the back of Lillian and Jan, as Matteo Longo gets another 3-second penalty for multiple warnings. So not ideal at all there for Matteo. And of course, as they've recently been renamed to Tatum Restech Team, of course, renaming from Tatum Racing Team to Tatum Restech after their recent sponsorship agreement, or partnership agreement, we should say.
Lovely to see as well, some of these community teams being able to get the teeth in to a little bit of sponsorship to try and help bolster, some of their equipment, some of maybe the engineering, software, whatever it might be. It's great to see them all somewhat try and get something involved and help grow the sim racing landscape as a whole, because these community teams, as much as we love them, they can't always keep running on just pure fumes and prize money, because there's only a certain amount of prize money which can go around the pot, to be quite honest with you. So it's fantastic to see these teams all get an opportunity and really trying to capitalise on the best of our ability. Oh dear me, Nelson Alves, Lucas Rapassa having a bit of contact. The VA cars are next to each other. Nelson Alves very much not happy. You saw him send it up the inside there. I'm sure he's going to be having words at this moment in time. He does have that time penalty as well, and now he's lost an end plate. It's not looking good for him and also Lucas Rapace has lost his front left end plate with that contact. All of a sudden, Julian Klappenbach might be looking here in the top 6, mate.
You could do, yeah. I mean, we didn't expect that to emerge so quickly. Damage for 2 cars in the top 7. They should easily drop out to that top 7 now due to that, because they're going to lose so much pace around a track which requires minimum speed, and of course that big aerodynamic power through most of the corners here. Of course, you've got lots of medium and high speed corners. When you've got a bit of front wing missing, it's so difficult to get the car turned in. So we could easily see these two start to drop back here. Look at Julian already saying goodbye. Nelson are not being stuck behind a damaged car for much longer now. He's got one more damaged car to get through on, and that being Luca Rapace. Once he's done that, he's in that top 5 contention then on the back of Leo Lund, who's trying to close back in to Danny, and of course has lost a lot of pace. 1.2 seconds is the gap. And Josh, I'm looking at the skies. It's getting darker. The rain could be back on its way. You've been told it's possible, but of course I believe we do run an approximate weather, so it's not perfect, but it's just most likely to happen if the data says something. So if rain comes back, Lord help us, please.
Absolutely. And also to add to that, is Luca Rapace going to be as nice as Nelson Alves was and kind of let him take that position back? Because for me, I wouldn't necessarily think he would be. I'd be looking to try and, hold it up a little bit more. If you've got wing damage, you've already said you lose so much downforce, you lose so much time around the Spa-Francorchamps circuit because you can't push as hard in that middle sector. And of course, you'll lose out in bus stop, Blanchimont, so many places where you require that front wing end plate. For me, at this moment in time, I'd be thinking about trying to get Leo back ahead and try and give Leo the best opportunity possible and create a little bit of a gap for him to at least secure that P5. Because as things stand, Julian looks primed to take that P5 position away from Luca and pull away up towards the back of Topias's FVR.
Definitely. But we've still got, 7 laps to go here in this race. We've been told, still updated, 5 minutes till the rain arrives, of course. If that does arrive, and that is the case, it's going to be a very, very frantic last couple of laps. Remember, Russia 2021, it's going to be like that, guys, if we do get that rain start to fall on the circuit. But we watch here with Danny and Topias here, P3 and P4. They're going to definitely be battling for the podium here, I think, because Luca Rapace is just dropping further and further down the field. We've got John Evans looking to make moves. He looks to get past Leo Lund. Has to go to the outside, switches back to the inside as they head their way through the final corner into P7. Goes John Evans, and Dylan Warren is going the opposite way. He's dropping down to P13, and still Ferrari, it's been a dismal day here. It's not gone well at all for them, and of course not many points will be scored in the grand scheme of things.
I'm not sure if my eyes deceive me here, Nathan, but rain, I thought I just saw a little bit of rain.
I think I did. A little bit of rain. Can we go on board? Will that help? I'm sure I saw someone. I'm not trying to cause drama here.
No, guys. I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it too. A little, yep, it's definitely started to drip, but I'm not sure whether the drivers are going to be necessarily too bothered about it at the moment. It might take a lap or two to start settling in. Let's not forget, even though they are on the dry compound tyres, these tyres put down so much heat, so much temperature, and kick up so much water. It could be absolutely fantastic.
Oh, look, they're going deep already. Leo Lund there, struggling on the brakes, heading into turn 8. The rain's coming down on circuit now. I think it's all going to boil up again. The rain's arrived here to cause trouble.
Oh.
Yeah, it's there. Yeah, there we are, Josh. It's starting to pour down. Oh.
Well.
What do they do, though? Do they pit? Do they not? They've still got 6 laps to go. You've got to pit, surely.
It's 6 laps around Spa. If it was 6 laps around majority of the other circuits, you could, exactly. You could argue staying there, it's worth it, right? But around Spa, it's so big. There's no opportunity where you're going to be able to not make up the time.
Let's see what Lillian does. How he's going to break into the chicane. Let's see. Has the grip started to lose yet? 100-meter board. Brakes. Ooh, Jan's gone deep. Lillian's kept it on, but they're still set out. They're not going to pit yet. Anybody else on for the pits? Van Roosen's in. Danny's in for CPI. They've tried something different already. They're trying something different again. They're baiting Gurley for the pit lane. Luca Rapace is also going to head into the pits. So is Dylan Warren for Ferrari. He's got nothing to lose in the team. And you can see, look at Julian, completely wide at turn 1. The rain is starting to pour heavily around Spa. And surely these guys are thinking, hey, why didn't we pit? Why didn't we stay out? Because the rain is starting to fall heavily. And it's all going to change. And maybe CPI, Veloci Academy and Ferrari have got this right.
This might be a whole 2 minutes of suffering for the drivers out there at the moment. They're going to be losing so much time, and they'll know it. They'll be looking to try and gain as much time as possible, push the car to the absolute limits in these treacherous conditions, and that's where the mistakes will creep in. They can't afford to tiptoe around because the likes of Danny, Luca, Dylan, Will Lewis, and now Matteo Longe are going to gain so much more time on that intermediate compound because they'll be able to find the grip where it's not available for the slick compound tyres.
You could, Danny, he's just got grip. He's just driving through the track like he normally would be. I mean, we know Danny's a quick driver. We know he can drive in the wet. But at the moment, he's just flying through. Whereas Jan and Lillian are just trying to skirt the car through, trying to get it turned into the corners. And it's just so difficult to get it in with, you know, such a low speed. You go gear 4 through the Lafanya chicane, you're normally in 5th. Sometimes in 6th heading through there. So they've got to pit this lap. You can see the rain starting to spatter on the ground as well. It's definitely intermediate conditions. Danny's already gained in a second on Daniele Parodi, who we haven't seen any of this race so far. He's in P14 for TRT. Of course, still 5 laps to go in this Grand Prix. They've got to think about it now as we head our way down to the chicane. Oh, and Jan, you can see just sliding in. He's got to go in. He is. He's in the pit. So is Lillian, and everybody else will be joining them too as they head into the heavy braking zone, which will be so treacherous in these conditions on the dry tyres.
Absolutely, you're going to have to watch out on that pit wall. Hopefully we've got a camera set there so we can see if anyone ends up clipping a front wing. But boy, oh boy, we've got a couple of cars battling still. Someone stayed out as well. 2 people stayed out. Lenny Papinta and Larry looking to try and do something absolutely magical. Very brave. Sergio Sabrino as well. I mean, at this point, you might as well try something, I guess. But at the same time...
Where's Danny? He's came at P7. That's 2 places behind, so he's came out behind Lillian and Jan, but the gap's 1.3. It was over 3 earlier on, so he has gained time by making that pit stop early. And also, remember, those 2 have got to get them tyres fired up, and Larry Talk is hoping that the track doesn't get much more wet because he stayed out. He's going to be committing to going to the end on these medium tyres. We've seen it happen before in real life. We've seen people try and stay on, and they've done it sometimes, but other times it's failed dramatically. So it's just time to clutch onto straws here for FVR and RC.
Lillian stuck behind Sergio there at the chicane. He couldn't find a way past. Jan sent it down the inside. A huge buffer's been made there. 1.5 seconds. DRS is now disabled. The traditional crossover point. Not that traditions mean anything in this game, because all of a sudden it's all up in the window. But now this gives great opportunity for Danny Van Brouten to be able to try and catch back up to Lillian Derbycourt. Surely at this point, Danny is looking to try and get that P2 position sooner rather than later.
Indeed, you can see all contact, and that's damage for Tobias Koivunen. Heading into the Lafanya chicane, he picks up some damage from Sergio Sabrino with some contact, and now has to get to the end in wet conditions with a damaged front wing. It's going from, well, I wouldn't say bad, but it's definitely turning bad here for Tobias Koivunen as we head our way to shortly begin lap 19 of the Grand Prix. Gap to leader, that's chucked that on. 4.4 seconds. Sabrino's dropping back to let his teammate through. Same for Jan Herde here, letting Oh, that could be interesting, Josh. We could see Nelson Alves play the team game.
Oh, I'm looking at this battle here between Julian, John and Luca, because all of them are so close with one another, battling, going too wide.
Julian gets a penalty.
Oh my, everything's happening.
We're
going off the rails here, guys. We're going off the rails.
I mean, we got penalties. We got Sergio going into the pits late. We got Nelson Alves here. I don't think he could even defend against Lillian Derbycourt at that point. And now, Lenny Papinta, is it going to be his turn to try and hold off some of those guys behind who will be catching up on those tyres? Danny Van Ruyten around the outside, up Rouge and Raddy on. What a move there to get ahead of Nelson Alves here, of course. TES's race has gone well for one, but not for the other. And Jan Herde is looking easily to cruise to a victory here in E-Series here for TES. Because look at Larry Torquay, there's nothing he can do. Through goes Jan Herde. Easy work.
Oh, Larry's still trying to hold it on the inside. Brave effort, but it was absolutely futile. He's got no grip whatsoever on those medium tyres. He's ice skating around Spa-Francorchamps. Lillian Derbycourt here. He's looking to try and do anything to get past that car as fast as possible, but he won't be the only one. Danny Van Brouten's now going to be looking to try and hunt him down. It wouldn't surprise me if before the end of P1, he's going to be right on the back of the gearbox of the FVR car, and Tobias Koivunen is right there as well. Perhaps maybe a little bit of a team game here if Larry is feeling confident enough in his ability to keep that car hooked in towards the apex. Long-way contact!
Half spin there for Danny Van Ruyten and for Larry Torquay. I mean, I think Larry was just hoping he could keep Danny behind and to help his teammate gain a bit more time, but no. you know, Danny was having none of it. He was wanting to get through as quick as possible. As we do see more cars making their way through now. Luca Rapassa jumps up into P7. He'll get himself another spot here because of the penalty for Julian Klaffenbach. As we do see Topias now making a move into third for FVR. Topias Koivunen has got a podium place. But Danny Van Rosen, we know him well. We know he's not going to let that position hold. He's going to try and get back into P3 and take a podium for CPI2. What a race we got, Josh. These two teams sit at the bottom of the standings pretty much, and they're now fighting for a top position. But John Evans is closing in.
And you keep in mind as well, Topias did that with a front end plate missing. He's looking to try and do everything in his power to try and hold on to his P3. But at the same time, Danny Van Routen, he's experienced. We know what he's like. We know he's going to wait for that opportunity to strike at the perfect moment to get that overtake sorted as soon as possible. It wouldn't surprise me if it's going to be at the end of the Kemmel Straight here. Try and build a little bit of a buffer, but it seems like Topias decides to dump a little bit more battery. He's got a little bit of buffer. Topias doing a fantastic job holding on to P3. Julian Klaffenbach all over the back of John Evans. As you mentioned, all these cars here looking, and they're all fighting for their lives out there, it seems like. They're all on the correct tyre, but all of them are giving hell for leather for the last couple of laps here at Spa-Francorchamps.
Indeed, and you can see here now, Julian Klaffenbach is applying some pressure to John Evans. Of course, it doesn't matter. Julian's got a penalty. He's not going to get any position, even if he makes a move onto John Evans here. So it's all about seeing what he can do now just to try and, well, he can't do much to increase the gap behind, but he's got to try and make a move and then try and push forward realistically here for Julian. Of course, he'll drop down to around P10 in this race due to that 3-second time penalty. You can see at the front there, the gap is increasing once more. Lilian Derbicourt 2.9, 3 seconds pretty much behind the back of Jan Halliday. And then we can see further behind there, Danny Van Royten's just losing time after time now. 6 tenths, 8 tenths is the gap between himself and Topias Koivunen, who, remember, has got damage. And he's pulling away from the rest of the field. He's actually catching on the back of Lilian Derbicourt. Now, has for some reason damage made the car better, it seems?
Potentially, it could be one of those mysteries, but so far, Topias doesn't seem to care in the slightest. He's sliding that car around every single apex. He's loving his life, isn't he? He's found a little bit of something, a little bit of magic here tonight in the FVR car, and he's looking to cast a spell to get himself into that podium position and hold on to P3, because it's going to be a very tall order when you've got the drivers such as Danny, John, Julian, and Lucas Rapassa all on the back of you. Leo Lund as well isn't too far away from being able to close up and get himself back into this fight as well. And with a double stack as well, you got to wonder once again, if EA's look was any different, how this could be going.
I mean, championship-wise as well, you look at it, you can see we got Veloci Academy sitting P7, P8, R8G 6th and 15th. Of course, Julian will drop down, but even could get a P8 here because Leo Lund is losing pace. But TES have got to win, but they've also got a P19, so that's only what? Well, they've got 35 points for the win. I think it's 2 points for P19, so 37 points for them. And it's also going to be similar regions here for Racecoach as well, P2 and P17. So I don't think the standings will change that much. I think everyone just kind of sticks about where they are, just stays round in their positions.
And he just drags it in.
But look now, Josh, Danny's catching up again.
Of course he is. He's absolutely rapid. I don't understand this. I really don't. 1 second, one lap, Topias seems to absolutely nail it, and then the next, Danny seems to nail it, and they're just swinging it backwards and forwards at the minute, aren't they? Doesn't seem to be any rhyme or reason to who's going to be quicker, whichever lap it is. But one thing is for certain, John Evans is certainly looking very quick at the back of Danny's car, 3 tenths off the back now. Surely he's going to be looking for an opportunity, maybe at the end of the Kemmel Straight, with a little bit of battery deployment to put alongside the CPI car. Surely he's going to be thinking to get that move sorted so he can put the pressure on Topias himself.
He certainly will be looking to apply that pressure, get a move done and jump up into P4 for Ferrari. It's not been the best race at all in the world here for John, but he's fought through it. He's, got himself back into a decent position, back to where Ferrari, in the regions of where they should be. But of course, behind him, he's got Julian, who's going to be looking to close down as well, and maybe even Luca Rapassa, depending what happens with the battling. As I think the rain's also starting to slow down again. It's not looking as treacherous as it was earlier on. But of course, we have a battle mainly for third. Jan Herday's looking to cruise to victory here for TES, and Race Clutch are looking to take a second place. And then, of course, we've got that battle for third as Danny Van Ruyten's closing in now. He's burning the battery. He's not got much of it to use here to close into Topia, so he's just got to try and apply some pressure here onto the back of the FVR car. He sends a dummy to the inside. He also has a bit of contact here with John Evans as they head their way through to the end of the chicane. down towards turn number 8. What can John Evans do? Danny's going to squeeze him all the way to the inside. You can see Julian looking to try and eye up the move around the outside here of John Evans. And of course, all this battling will bring Leo Lund closer, so that will harm Julian Klaffenbach, and John Evans gets pushed wide. And now Julian's got the inside line, heading into Poo-on.
Brilliant stuff there from Julian. Lost control of the car slightly, a little bit of a tap, but you can see the car sliding in front of him. He's going to be looking at Danny and he's thinking, Blanchimont, I've got to do it before then. Because of bus stop chicane, he's going to go defensive. He's going to try and force me wide. He's going to try and force me to get a warning. He's already got that penalty. It is for pride at this point. But Julian's not taking any sort of hint here at all. Maybe he thinks he'd get the penalty removed, but he's still going for it. Absolutely sending it, and that's brilliant to see. We've got the DRS enabled here, but it might be a little bit too late as Jan Halze rounds Blanchimont. He's going to be taking a race win as long as he's able to keep through the bus stop chicane, but we're going too wide here, Nathan. This is absolutely ecstatic.
It certainly is here. We can see John Evans looking to make moves. So is Danny Van Ruyten, but back to the front. It's status quo for TES as Jan Halliday wins the Belgian Grand Prix and race clutch. A much-deserved podium here for Lilian Debecourt in second place, and a penalty for John Evans on the last corner of the race. He drops down to P9 here after the Spa Grand Prix. What a shame there for Ferrari and John Evans, and it will be Topias Koivunen third for FVR, and Danny Van Ruyten a well-deserved top 4. And after all of that scuffling, battling on the final lap, Luca Rapassa, Leo Lund, P5, P6. Definitely a good result for VA considering what happened earlier on with the double stacks and the damage.
You got to think as well, points-wise, they will be closing the gap to TES in the championship, but what a race through. And shout out as well for Larry and Lenny for keeping onto the slick compound tyre, even at the end of a race. Getting P16 and P19
and also,
respectively.
Elia, after having such an issue with the internet, joined the session with a 21-second gap and has still kept it to the end. A big well done to him as well. I mean, sometimes those who have to drive alone is a lot more painful than those who are driving up in the lead on their own.
Absolutely. Knowing that, you are just there, but you're still collecting a point at the end of the day, and all the points matter because points mean prizes. And in E-Series, as long as you finish, you get a point. That's beautiful to see.
I saw Will Lewis put a message, which driver is on dial-up internet? So he's not happy with that, is he? Right, let's see. Can we get an interview today is the question, because some weeks we get loads, don't we, Josh? Other weeks we get none,
yeah.
So we'll see. I mean, I forgot who finished first, second and third. It was Jan. Then we had, of course, Lilian. And finally, Mr. Topias Koivunen, top A, as I think most of us know him as. No, wrong person. I clicked Tobias, not Topias, or Topias. I can't see him. There he is, top A. But what a race end there, Josh.
Brilliant stuff. Had everything you could ever want. You mentioned earlier about Spa not delivering in real life. Well, in the F1 games,
well, this isn't real life, is it, Josh? Well done for noticing.
Cool. Believe it or not, it's not real life. It's better because all the cars are equal and everyone has a fair opportunity. And well, when it's all fair, when it's all square, Jan Halze takes the win and takes the fastest lap as well. He'll be grabbing maximum amount of points here. With pole position as well. Lilian Debecourt, P2, Topias Koivunen, P3, Danny Van Ruyten at P4, Lucas Rapassa at P5, Leo Lund P6, Julian Klaffenbach P7, Thomas Lamminen at P8, John Evans P9, Florian Panzelta at P10, Dylan Moran P11, Daniele Parodi at P12, Jerry Van Bussel P13, Sergio Sabrina P14, Will Lewis P15, Larry Tolke P16, Matteo Longe P17, Nelson Alves P18, Lenny Pipinta P19, and Elliot Tomasetto rounding out all our finishers, all 20 drivers. Brilliant stuff from each and every one of them.
What an ending. Brilliant race. Unfortunately, we won't have Top 8 or Lilian in for an interview, but hopefully Jan Herde will join us. He's always around for a chat, so hopefully he'll be up for a quick talk. But I mean, let's just talk about TES on a whole in that one there. It wasn't the best start for them in terms of Nelson Alves. It wasn't the best ending in terms of Nelson Alves, but Jan Halliday, just masterclass, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even at the start of the race, you could even argue Nelson had a really good job getting into the top 10.
Yes.
It just went very quickly south.
Well, he was in the top 5, wasn't he, at one point?
Yeah.
I think that's what it was with Luca.
Yeah, it was one of those things where when it does go south and it starts going bad, it can very quickly fall away from you. You lose control of a situation. And next thing you know, you are unnecessarily put on the back foot. It might be no mistake of your own, and you end up struggling. And it was just one of those days for one half of TS. For the other side, I mean, domination is the word for it. My driver of the day, Jan Halliday, fantastic stuff. Commanding lead, demonstrated it nice and early in lap one that he was comfortable in the wet. Sorry, it demonstrated in qualifying he was comfortable in the wet very early on. Same in the race. Demonstrated when the interchanging conditions came, he made the correct call. He was on the ball. He made the correct decisions at the right time. Himself, his engineering team did a fantastic job to be able to maximise the result here today because it wasn't an easy race once you get pole to keep hold of and somewhat, command it from the front.
Definitely. Brilliant race indeed by Jan. We'll drag him in quickly now for a quick chat. Oh, he's got to run to the toilet first.
Oh, dear.
You got time quickly, Jan?
Yeah, I got time.
Right, so welcome in. Brilliant race, of course. Pole, win, nothing better than you could have asked for, but the conditions were so weird the whole race, wasn't it? It was dry rain. How was it for you? Was you comfortable with the wet conditions, or was it a bit annoying having to drive in the rain?
To be fair, I felt good. I mean, the pace probably wasn't the fastest on the track. I think the VA guys were quite fast, but I mean, I had a gap behind me, so I could afford to be a little bit safe and like safe track limit warnings and stuff. And yeah, I mean, I was quite comfortable. We had a decent setup for the, let's say, hybrid conditions. We made it on the spot, and I think it worked well. So overall, I'm very happy with the job we did. I mean, this race wasn't because of me, it was because of my engineers. I have to thank them, Killian, Shimon, you did an awesome job. I think without you, this wouldn't be possible. So yeah, I mean, perfect strategy. Nothing more I can ask for.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it was a really good race, of course. Back to winning ways again for the team. I mean, of course, it's a shame to have Nelson finishing P19, but of course, you get 35 points for a win, so you shouldn't really have to worry too much about any other teams closing in and trying to, break that championship gap that you have. But I mean, it's got to be at least 40 points heading into the final two rounds. We've got Azerbaijan and Brazil. What are your thoughts, or what are the team's thoughts on those last two races?
Well, team thoughts, I don't know, but for me, I've always been a Baku merchant. I think that was my first world record I got on time trials, so I'm looking forward to that. I mean, we'll see how it is on this game because I haven't driven it yet. So yeah, we'll see. But I think these two tracks are quite strong for us as a team. So we'll give it the most we can, and we'll see.
Indeed, right. Anything quickly from you, Josh, before we let you
No,
go?
other than congratulations and go and enjoy your well-earned toilet break, my friend, because that was a fantastic race.
Yeah, thank you very much, guys, and
Right.
goodbye.
Have a good one.
Pleasure.
Bye. Right. There we go. So, Josh, I mean, I've been looking at the Discord chat while we've been having our chat. I mean, we got little bits of rivalry between Veloci Academy and TES. Both of the teams having a bit of a go at each other. We've got Dylan Warren jumping in to have a little look what's going on as well. So it's going to be interesting, isn't it? Of course, what's going to happen there between TES and VA, because they've both lost valuable time from that. Of course, Nelson dropping to the back, eventually, and Luca Rapace there, of course, with his damage, not getting probably what he could have deserved. I mean, his pace is podium, I think, really. He could have definitely gotten to that top three.
Yeah, it's one of those things, isn't it, where it's what could have been, but in such a dynamic and difficult race for all of the drivers. Yeah. The fact all of them were able to finish, first of all, is a huge congratulations to them. To be able to keep their heads, not end up thinking, right, especially for Elia. I mean, no fault of your own. You're 20 seconds off the grid. You just follow it through. You do what you do. No complaints there. Absolutely fantastic to see. And when it comes to these, close, tense moments of the track, we saw there, especially in the dry conditions with the DRS, that was the prime opportunity to be able to try and make overtakes, to make positions. You had to take risks, and unfortunately for some drivers, it didn't work out, and they ended up paying a bit more of a price than maybe the reward was really worth. They took a bit too much risk. But then in other ways, the drivers got rewarded so highly for, the amount of risks they took. It's really one of those. It's completely situational. It's completely dependent on where you were at what point. It's one of those which not entirely in your control, but it was fantastic viewing. And again, series once again delivering the best racing content.
Definitely.
Period.
Listen, TK, I know he's not watching because he's probably busy doing other things, but he says, F2 clears. Me series. I mean, today, to TK and both to Alex as well, me and Josh have proven that no, E-Series is clear. It's better than F2. It's better than F3. You know, they're going to bring that argument, but we'll keep it on to the end of the season, won't we, Josh?
That's fine.
We know what the pinnacle is, and that's E-Series.
Hey, they're the ones mentioning us. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. But we should also mention we do, of course, not only just do E-Series, we are a full PSGL family. We do have the Monday streams, which consist of a PlayStation tier. So that's PlayStation 1 all the way down to PlayStation 5. We've got great talent over there. Some very young up-and-coming drivers. I do believe we've got a couple of them already signed in for E-Series this year as well. Looking to try and get themselves over to PC. So if you're looking for some very bright drivers you can follow through in your career, go and make sure you check out a couple of the PlayStation streams. Similar thing can be said for the Thursday streams as well, given how talented a lot of drivers are in, VF4, VF3, and of course VF2 broadcast. We'll see a lot of familiar names that you see here today. All of them, week in, week out. It's so much practice, so much effort.
Yeah.
It's absolutely fantastic to see.
It certainly is. And of course, a big thank you to everyone as well in the chat for watching along, because we had all those issues at the start. I'm looking at the viewership. It went up, down, but I'm glad that everyone tuned back in once we got everything sorted. Of course, a big thanks to Josh as well, who was here to get it all sorted. Without him, would be stuck with me not talking for an hour. I mean, I loved Connor's input as well. Can use another mic. I mean, I could use my phone, but it would have been horrible. So luckily we got it all sorted. But of course, big thanks to you as well, Josh, for joining me
again. Get the Nokia out. Get a Nokia. Get one of the bricks out.
I'm not a peasant.
Mate,
I'm joking.
Right, okay, right. Everyone who's ever owned a Nokia is going to be very upset with you there. I'm talking get the brick out, mate. Hook it up. Job done. Dial in. I mean, we had dial-in internet, apparently. Might as well have a dial-in commentator.
Next week, Josh, we have Baku, final race of course. Second to final race of course.
Second, penultimate, yeah. Not next week, week after.
We saw with Belgium. Baku's going to be a whole other level. So, guys, until then, get ready for Baku next Friday. It's going to be 2 weeks.
There we go.
24th week. We have
24th.
24th of Jan. Make sure to come back here to catch the action at Azerbaijan, and of course, maybe we'll be able to crown our champion next week. We'll see. TES are the ones to be chased by all the other teams behind. So, guys, have a good week, and we'll see you then. Goodbye.